HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia. A Beasley Media Group station live from the Comcast Business Studios. 97.5, The Fanatic. John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas. This is Kincade and Salciunas. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Yesterday was an absolute beautiful day, and I don't just mean the weather. I mean what took place at Citizens Bank Park yesterday, welcoming home an old friend in Rhys Hoskins, the ovation that he got when he first stepped up to the plate. I really hope that what happened last night is all over national sports media today, because that is the real Philadelphia that I know and love. A beautiful night last night, a beautiful day at the Brian Dawkins golf outing, where a lot of players, former players, spoke about the state of the team. We got a lot in store for you. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
This is Kincade and Salciunas.
Stars in cities, especially like Philadelphia, they are always on the map, and we should expect more winning out of them.
And we'll go to the Eagles and Jalen Hurts. I am a believer that your best player, I think there is also a responsibility as the team spokesperson.
Kincade and Salciunas. John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas.
97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
And a good Tuesday morning, Philadelphia. I'm Andrew Salciunas alongside my man Johnny Woods. Johnny Kincade. Mr. Golfer out there yesterday having a big day.
It was a religious experience at the Brian Dawkins golf outing to be able to play golf again.
Yeah, for the first time in how long?
October of 22, while we were in Arizona for the Birds and the Cardinals with Philly sports trips.
Yeah.
I wanted to cry.
I'm sure you did.
It was so exciting to be back out. And I won't bore anybody, but the new clubs, it helps mediocre golfers be better.
Well, that's good.
I can't believe that I didn't do it years ago.
Well, I'm happy for you.
I'm very excited.
I'm glad you had that moment yesterday.
Awesome.
I'm glad that you were to step out onto the course for the first time in almost 2 years. So that's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful day, beautiful event. Brian Dawkins raising money for beautiful causes. And we'll get to that coming up in a little bit. But let's start with the big story that took place last night. And that was
what a night.
Citizens Bank Park, Phillies, Brewers. First off, let's just say this, a battle between two playoff teams. Right?
Correct.
The Phillies very well could win the NL East, and the Brewers could very well win the NL Central, right? These are two teams that could win their respective divisions. The Brewers are very well ahead of 500 as well. They have a great staff. They have great players. And that was a great baseball game yesterday where you had your ace on the mound in a 3-1 ball game, right?
2 hours and 15 minutes
flew by. I loved it.
That game was flying. I was loving it.
Well, I do the bath time and the bedtime. I missed, I had to rewind three innings.
Is that for you or is that for Cooper?
For Cooper.
Okay.
For Cooper's bedtime.
I didn't know if you had a bath time routine.
I
didn't need to hear about it if you did.
I usually let the game keep on running, and if I miss something, I'll rewind. And I'm like, oh my God, it's almost over.
See, we are put it on pause,
and then you fast forward.
Do whatever you got to do, fast forward through commercials.
I got you.
Sorry about the folks at NBC Sports Philadelphia that we do that.
So, Phillies Brewers, great game in itself, but of course the big story was the welcome home party for Rhys Hoskins. Hoskins.
It was heartwarming.
It was absolutely beautiful. So before I even, mess up by trying to tell you exactly how it played out, here's how it sounded from the Brewers broadcast when Rhys Hoskins stepped up to the plate for the first time in the top of the second inning.
And now it's Rhys Hoskins.
Now batting for Milwaukee, number 12, designated hitter, Rhys Hoskins.
I got goosebumps. Yeah, it's really cool. Really cool moment right there. See those signs in the stands. Amazing.
Now, part of it might be because I'm wearing headphones, but that was a deafening ovation.
Liv was there.
Oh, was she?
As she went down last night.
Cool.
And she had tears in her eyes.
Dude,
she said,
I'm not surprised.
The whole building was electric. It was heartwarming. I choked up a little bit seeing him touching his heart.
I'm sure he awesome. Choked up during the moment too.
That was and I saw your sentiments on Twitter. It was a beautiful moment. And Rhys Hoskins from his work on the field, off the field.
Absolutely off the
field. And how much
too.
he loved this city. And I think still loves this city. He deserved every bit of that.
He did. And we'll get to the home run in a second.
Every bit of it. Yeah, later we'll get into that.
But the top of the second, I mean, that moment was absolutely
awesome.
beautiful. And you got to think about everything that surrounds Rhys Hoskins. I mean, he was the one bright spot during a horrible time in Philadelphia sports before they signed Bryce Harper, right? During the 10-year playoff drought, Rhys Lightning, what he did when he first came up in the big leagues, hitting all those home runs in very limited games. And I know he was a very streaky hitter, hot sometimes, extremely cold at others. I'm somebody that tried trading him 3 different times for guys that would be at the front end of the rotation, not because I thought Rhys Hoskins stunk. It's because
he was an asset.
He was an asset, and they needed pitchers. And I remember, Johnny, this is years ago. You were not here yet. It was when he first came up. I did a topic with the midday show I was producing at the time. Would you trade Rhys Hoskins, or who would you rather have? It was like Hoskins, Trout, and Mike Stanton, now Giancarlo Stanton, and the majority of people still voted for Rhys Hoskins, right? Like, I thought that was
nuts. Now that's nuts, but
he was the first bright spot out of the Phillies team since the era of Ryan Howard and Jimmy Rollins and Chase Utley. So I understood what he meant. And last night paints the perfect picture of what he meant to Philadelphia fans.
When he came through Atlanta and I would get a chance to come in and see the Phillies, I was always impressed by the fact that he was the guy who was front and center. And when you talk about a face of a franchise, you talk about a guy who was speaking for a franchise that was struggling.
Yes.
He was always accountable. His face was always there. He never shied away from speaking on it. And I was always impressed. And I was like, God, I hope the Phillies get good before he's done.
Yeah, and
they did.
And there's so much to it. Like you mentioned the speaking portion of what he did for Philadelphia. Like he was, let's face it, I know Bryce Harper's the face of the franchise, and even
he
was
wasn't
in
the voice.
2022.
He's never been the voice.
Right,
though.
Hoskins was, and I think back to I think it was Odubel Herrera was still on the team in 2022, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
He had to answer a lot of the questions about Odubel Herrera coming back, and I'm sure that was not a comfortable position for Rhys Hoskins to be in. Like, there's things that I think the casual fan doesn't think about. They think about the bat spike and the guy that was here for a long time and he loved dogs, right? There was also a million other things. He was a huge piece of that Phillies team. That we talk about the vibes and we talk about the clubhouse and how tight they seem to be. I'm sure Rhys Hoskins had a lot to do with that. Rhys Hoskins being on the dugout steps as much as he was last year when he didn't play a single game showed how much this team meant to him.
That's why I like it when a vibesman is actually a player.
I got you.
When a vibesman is actually a guy who is a leader and contributing, speaking for the team and things like that. That's when I'm totally into it. You want to spin vibesman on a guy like Rhys Hoskins? I'm totally into it.
So it was an absolute beautiful night last night. If you were at the ballpark yesterday, would absolutely love to hear from you, whether it's the text line, the phone line, Twitter, email, you name it. You can call in or text in 610-632-0975.
What a crowd, too.
Absolutely stunning. 43,500 people.
On a Monday night.
On a Monday night.
School still in this week for most school districts all over there.
Yeah, it's like when we talked about the Thursday day game last week or 2 weeks ago.
Sold out.
And it was a sold-out crowd. It was an afternoon game where kids are still in school. And now you saw last night another beautiful night. And I know a lot of people probably bought tickets for last night for that reason, to give Rhys Hoskins his ovation. But it was beautiful. The ballpark was beautiful. The weather was beautiful. It just ended up being such a great night. So
Zach Wheeler, not to bury the lead, was also beautiful.
Zach Wheeler was absolutely beautiful, stunning last night on the mound yesterday. And this team, I mean, look, again, Rhys Hoskins or not, last night's a great baseball game. Last night shows you that this Phillies team can win in so many different ways. That once again, Zach Wheeler, starting pitchers dominant. Bats come to life early on, and they can make an impact, and they can put a team behind right away, the 8-ball, and that's what they did last night against the Brewers. So great game for the Phillies, a great night for Citizens Bank Park. But I do have to ask this question. Now that I got the fluffy stuff out of the way.
Okay.
I wrote on the show sheet, "You are amazing, Philadelphia."
And
also, what are you doing, Philadelphia? Look, I get it. It was an emotional night last night. But for those of you celebrating the Rhys Hoskins home run, what are we doing here? Can we have a conversation as adults? This isn't me just trying to be radio, meathead. What are you guys doing? Seriously, it was a 3-1. It made it a 3-1 ball game.
It was ridiculous.
You can't cheer for the opposition to hit a home run.
Here's the bottom line, though. I don't believe it. And Connor, you and I interacted on it right afterwards. I don't believe the cheering, and my daughter in the building. The cheers were not overwhelming.
It was more boos
It was
than
many
cheers.
more boos, but Liv says there was a lot of people booing and clapping.
Yeah, that's weird.
Which she found weird, but people were booing and almost like chuckling, like, can you believe he did that? Can you believe he hits a home run on the night of his return?
I think that's awesome.
And it was the booing, though, clearly. The booing clearly outweighs. So I had to go back. Connor put it up there. I had to go back and listen to it. So we just rewound the DVR and went back on NBC Sports Philadelphia. The boos far outweigh the cheering.
Absolutely, they
Like
did.
it's at least 3-1.
But you see, I remember seeing the ball land in left field, and there were people around the guy
Like
who got
celebrating.
like giving a round of applause.
Like, what
And
the
I'm
hell you
"Stop.
doing?"
This is a great baseball game. It's now a 3-1 game. This game means something in the long run. You're gonna be fighting for that 1 seed with
And-
this team potentially.
Yeah, you do not want this team keeping you from having a bye.
Right. Exactly.
Like if you have the bye or home field advantage. You want to go out there and you want to make sure this is one of those teams that you put down. And they're not that far back. They're 5 losses back.
Right, they're right behind.
I mean, it's not like Milwaukee. I can't believe Milwaukee's doing it, by the way.
Here's the thing that makes me laugh. So I got a tweet yesterday after I tweeted out about this is a violation to be cheering on a player from the opposition, and somebody responded with, "Oh, what does it matter? It's just a game in June."
Oh, geez.
I heard the exact same thing about the Harper Hustle in a game in May, right? So what's next? It's just game 1 of a
It's just
playoff
game
series.
1.
Like, am I going to hear that next? Like,
Yes.
stop with the "it's just a." No, it's a game. Period. You need to try to win as many games as you possibly can. Don't give me "it's just a game in June. It's just a game in May." Were you happy when the Astros threw a no-hitter in the World Series
No.
because you thought that was cool? Like, stop it.
I'm a fan of the game.
Have you guys stretched before the show? Because that feels like a bit of a reach. I don't want
What
you
do
to
you
pull
mean?
anything.
I disagree.
Going from a June game to no-hitter in the World Series is a bit of a difference.
No, they're gonna say, "Oh, well, that was just game.
I
That was
was
just
just-
game 4."
And
Don't worry about
I'm
it.
reacting to greatness.
on.
I'm reacting to great. I heard that last night, too. I saw that on my own Twitter feed. Well, you celebrate great moments when you see them in sports. I'm like, bull crap. You're there. You're a Phillies fan. You're there to root for the Phillies. You're not going, well, that was a great play by Giancarlo Stanton. Got to make sure we give him his love. Let's give the Mets hey, that was a great double play. The Mets say, let's give them the cheer. Bull crap. Stop this nonsense.
I will say this.
Stop it.
Now that the game is over and the Phillies won 3-1, I think it's cool that Rhys Hoskins hit a home run last night.
I will absolutely agree with you.
When it
100%.
happened in the moment, I am not applauding it when it happened in the moment. My first thought is, 3-1. Game's
Yes.
still tight. The Phillies bats have gone silent since early on in the game.
Wheeler is at the end of his pitching gas tank.
Right.
So you know you're going to have to get 7 or 6 outs.
Bullpen's been used
Right.
a lot in recent days.
Yes.
And we're celebrating a home run that could have changed the momentum swing. How many times have we talked about momentum swings in sports? And I see, Connor, you were probably on your feet applauding too.
I was not. I wasn't happy he hit a home run. But I'll tell you what.
What?
You could kind of feel it, right? When he walked to the plate, I was watching the game with one of my buddies, and I said, there is one man that stands between Zach Wheeler and a shutout 7 innings. And of course, it's Rhys Hoskins.
Of course,
And
it's Rhys
next,
Hoskins.
Next pitch, gone. So, I don't know. It just felt like a moment. I wasn't applauding it, but
I hope you weren't.
I will contend the thought about applauding great moments. Think about this. You remember that play Jose Alvarado made Sunday Night Baseball?
Yes.
That flipped to first base?
Yes.
If he makes that play on the road, does the opposing crowd cheer for that play?
No.
Because
No.
No, they don't.
They don't.
They
think
go,
there's-
damn,
They
we
go,
wish
that's-
that guy was safe at
Right.
first base.
I think you applaud great plays.
You're
where there's
a
a
lunatic.
portion of the
You are a
fan base.
lunatic. If it goes against your team,
Connie,
you don't
you're nuts.
applaud it.
You're nuts.
I watched Chaz McCormick make that play in the World Series.
Nobody cheered
Were you
for it.
cheering for him because he's a local kid?
Do fans cheer no hitters or perfect games on opposition soil?
It
Yes,
depends.
when the final out is made.
Or if they
it's
take
a
it to like the 7th.
If it's a 7-0 game,
yeah.
and they're seeing it,
Or when
it's a
Josh
blowout.
Beckett did it and the Phillies were trash at the time. That's different.
No, it's
I
not.
understand, but it's just like that is a once-in-a-lifetime special sports moment. I was not cheering for it, but I do think there's a portion of fans that's part of the experience of sports that they go to the ballpark for.
I put up
To
the.
see
I
the
put up.
opposing player hit a home run?
Rhys Hoskins, not the opposing player.
I put up the Charmin. I put up the Charmin logo at one point because people were like, "Well, what do you think?" And I said, "This is it. This is the point of in a 3-0 game where your pitcher then loses the shutout. It now becomes a close game. Your bullpen's been overworked. You're going to have to get 6 or 7 outs with your bullpen at that point. Here is fans of the home team cheering for the opposition. It's dopey. People do not do it. They do not do it in other cities. They do not go.
They definitely do it in other cities.
Cheer
They
for,
don't.
not cheering for great. Not when they do not cheer against their teams.
I
They
guarantee
do not cheer against their teams.
I guarantee you what's happened with Rhys Hoskins last night has happened
okay.
in a million other
But I
ballparks.
bet you it has happened depending on the situation. So somebody, I think it's the Alleyway podcast, responded to me saying, "What did you expect? They did this for Chase Utley." And I said, "Yeah," and I didn't like it when they did it for Chase Utley, but at least that was when the Phillies were trash. Tommy Joseph was playing first base. Cameron Rupp
different.
was your catcher, right? There was nothing to actually celebrate for the Phillies that night when Chase Utley hit the grand slam. The Phillies this year are a World Series or bust team, best team in baseball right now.
And everything matters.
And
along
everything
the way.
matters. And don't give me just a game in June, just a game in May, when we have expectations of Super Bowl. Or World Series. Are we gonna say if the Eagles lose a week 2, it's just week 2? No, we're gonna talk about how that game could mean something down the road.
Here's another reason. It's Milwaukee. Every team in the National League right now has a 7-game lead. You realize that?
Wow.
The Brewers have a 7-game lead. The Dodgers have a 7-game lead. The Phillies do. Every freaking game matters at the top of the standings for making sure you get the bye or you get the home field advantage. And you only play Milwaukee 7 times. Every game matters. And it's absurd cheering against the home team.
Bill Brown checks in. Fans poo-pooed games 4 and 5 against the D-backs because we had 6 and 7 at home.
Yes. There was a lot of that talk. What are you worried?
Don't worry about it.
What are you worried
We got
about?
a 2-game
We got
lead
6
coming
and 7
back
at
to
home.
Citizens Bank Park.
You know, you can't lose at the bank.
Just a game in June, Connor. Just a game in October.
It's not remotely comparable. It's not, guys. And it is a singular moment in a game the Phillies, really, the offense wasn't great, but defensively and pitching, they dominated.
Yes.
The singular moment, though, Connor, was the ovation at the beginning.
That was
that
the
was
moment.
deserved. It was earned. It was heartfelt. It was beautiful. That point, rip the Band-Aid off. He's trying to beat your team. He's trying to sink the Phillies. He's no longer a Philly. Get out of your feelings. And at that point, start being a Phillies fan.
I disagree.
Start being,
I disagree.
We feel good for that.
I
Rhys
think it
Hoskins
is okay to feel good for human beings who do something special that you pay to
Connor
witness.
using his Locked On Phillies podcast connections probably texted Reese saying, "Attaboy, Reese.
Hi, Reese.
Attaboy, Reese. Good,
Reese,
good,
we still love
good
you."
swing, Reese Lightning.
And Reese probably hated your bark in the park take.
I hate Bark in the Park. It's
He probably
stupid.
hated you for that.
All right, so we'd love to hear from you. 610-632-0975. It's the good and the bad, right? The ovation yesterday, the beautiful night at Citizens Bank Park. If you were in attendance, would love to hear from you. Or if you were like us watching from your couches, what that moment meant for you. Like I loved it. I was sitting in my house. I had a big smile on my face when he
was
first
great.
stepped up to the plate, and I wasn't even at the ballpark. And then your reaction to the fans, not just in attendance, but also people at home that are celebrating the home run by Rhys Hoskins yesterday. Ultimately, did the Phillies win the game? Yes, but in the moment, it could have been a momentum swing, and you should not celebrate that for the opposition.
And one of our friends, John Maley from our Philly Sports Trips visits, texts me and he says, Chase Utley was a World Series champion.
Another big one.
And perennial all-star. Reese was neither.
Yeah,
He thinks that well, there's a difference, he thinks, as far as there's a difference between
But I could
a
also make the
champion and
case that Reese, because of who he was coming from the tough times of Phil, like Chase Utley was with
right.
Rollins, Utley, Howard, Worth, like all those guys, whereas Reese was the beginning. So I think it's all different.
No,
and
I get
also
you.
society has changed. It's
absolutely.
It's a lot different 20 years later. All right, so here's also what we want to talk about. Yesterday, you had a beautiful day at the Brian Dawkins golf outing. You got to play golf for the first time in 2 years. That's a beautiful thing for you. So Bob Cooney hosted his midday show there with Amy Fadul and Ray Dunn, and he had incredible guests joining him, including Brian Westbrook, a man who is still very much connected with the Eagles.
Oh, yes. Got to see B. West yesterday.
And B. West kind of backs up what I said about holding Jalen Hurts to a higher standard. Take a listen to what B. West said about your franchise quarterback.
When you have weapons like Devontae, he has to touch the ball. You have weapons like AJ. There's so many weapons here. Everyone has to touch the ball, and they will. Maybe not in the same game, but they will. And so it's going to come down to this, and this is true in every team sport, especially here. Your best player has to play exceptionally well. And if Jalen Hurts plays exceptionally well, you're talking about a team that's going to win 13, 14 games and make a long run into the playoffs. If he's just middle of the road, turning the ball over, not leading in the way that he needs to, then they're going to be an average football team. Unfortunately, that's not kind of the sexy answer, but at the end of the day, that's the truth.
It is the truth.
Leading the way he needs to.
And that's what happened last year, by the way, the turnovers and stuff. Again, a very connected former Eagle. We've heard from Adam Schefter.
Leading the way he needs to. Do you think he hears from people?
I think
he has great conversations with people? That was eye-opening.
And look, we all believe that he will do it again. I believe he bounces back.
No, I believe he bounces back performance-wise.
Yes.
I do have questions whether he'll be able to lead the way he needs to lead.
Okay.
I think that's fair to question that.
I think
Last year
too.
it all fell apart on his watch.
It's another chance to bring up Jalen Hurts and our feelings about him going into this season and the standard conversation. He always puts himself on a high standard.
He does.
Why shouldn't we? 610-632-0975, the number to climb in. I can't believe people were cheering for the name on the back like Connor Thomas was. Connor was rooting for the Hoskinses.
Just wait till we get to the text line.
And not the Milwaukee
He had his Rhys
Brewers.
Lightning t-shirt on.
Oh, wait till we get to
the
text line. I can only imagine. It's another day where I agree with Kincade, so I know I'm in trouble. It's Kincade and Salciunas right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic.
Kincade and Salciunas on this beautiful Tuesday morning, 97.5 The Fanatic. Reacting to what took place at Citizens Bank Park last night again.
It is beautiful.
It was a beautiful, beautiful evening, beautiful ovation for Rhys Hoskins when he steps up to the plate. I am so glad. Let me make this point as well. And I said to you yesterday that I'm sure a memo was sent from either the Phillies or the Brewers to not count the pitch clock right away.
And did you see what JT did too?
No. Did he step out?
He stepped into the infield.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like to just make sure that Rhys had the whole stage to himself.
Yeah, and that's good. And
it was awesome.
And good for the umpiring crew, even though they were probably told beforehand, hey, this is what's coming your way.
They were prepared.
But for him to get the amount of time, it was about like a minute-long ovation that he got.
It was awesome.
And every second worth it. And it's still such a shame, thinking back, the fact that he did not play at all last year. That's an absolute shame. And I know him getting hurt led to Bryce Harper being able to play first base and all that kind of stuff, and that he's now your first baseman
Bryce
of the
chose
future.
to take his position.
Right. But
make sure you remember that.
But like when he goes down last year and then he never comes back, it's his final year. We all kind of expected him to not be back this season. We all kind of expected that he would get a bigger deal somewhere because he probably would have had a productive season that we're accustomed to seeing, 30-plus home runs, 90 RBI, all the walks, the great on-base percentage. And it's a shame that he gets hurt during spring training on a routine, pop-up that he just blows his ACL on.
Ground ball.
Was it a ground ball?
It was one of those Baltimore chops.
Crazy, though.
And then he goes down, and that was it. That was the last time we saw him play in a Phillies uniform. But every second of that ovation was well-deserved last night. And, of course, what people are going to get hung on today is the fact that you and I are anti-cheering a home run hit by an opposing
3-1
player.
game?
Yeah, in a 3-1 ball game.
That breaks up a shutout versus one of the best teams in baseball.
Oh, it's just a game in June.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so I know the text line is buzzing this morning. This is a day where I would love to talk to you guys all show long. I know we're very busy when we do the morning show. This is a very well-prepared show. We have so much going on. We have guests. We have topics. We have content. But if you were at the ballpark yesterday, we would absolutely love to hear from you and what your thoughts were from your couch. Like we were all on our couches last night watching that game, and I even got the warm and fuzzies when he first stepped up to the plate, just not when he hit the home run. Connor, what do we have on the text line? We'll get to the phone lines as well, and then I'll reset you what Brian Westbrook had to say yesterday about Jalen Hurts, but you can climb in at 610-632-0975.
Vinny from Roxborough checks in, first-time texter
Hello,
here.
Vinny.
Vinny.
Immediately says, agree with Connor. Baseball is a situational game. In that situation, you're up 3 runs. The guy who was your former franchise player hit a solo home run on his return back to Philadelphia. That was a special moment.
Okay, you're up.
No. A special moment? Neither one of us
Special
disagrees.
moment. I said last segment, I'm glad now that I know that they won that it happened.
But you do not cheer it at the time that it freaking happens.
And don't say
it's absurd.
And don't say, it was a 3-0 ball game.
That game was hanging in the balance. With our bullpen, we could absolutely give up a 3. The way the bullpen was worked Saturday and Sunday because of the Ranger Suarez injury.
Yes.
I believe you had to use the bullpen for 11 innings the previous 2 nights.
Makes sense.
It's ridiculous that you wouldn't have the awareness to, you know what? This game's hanging in the balance. I kept thinking, get more runs.
Yeah.
Get
and
more
by the
runs.
way, 3-0 made it 3-1.
Right.
And it was the 7th inning. There were still 2 more innings to be played.
And there's no argument that it was a special moment.
It was a beautiful moment. I'm glad that it happened now
In
that the Phillies
retrospect,
won.
yes.
I was not cheering in the time because when that home run was initially hit, my first thought wasn't, oh, yay, good for you, Rhys. My first thought was, uh-oh, we got ourselves a ball game.
Good for you, Rhys. For God's sakes.
What else do we have on the text
We're not
line?
we're not the cheerleaders at the lunch table when the quarterback comes to go get his Frosty.
I knew driving into work today that no matter what I said about the beautiful moment, about the ovation, that we would become enemies at some point during the show today. And right away, the first text is, thanks for being the voice of reason, Connor. What else we got?
Well, that should never be texted, or tweeted by anybody.
Next one here. Thank God you have Connor to bring some sense.
There
When
we
Rhys
go.
is signed to
There we go.
Love Connor's mom.
When Rhys is signed to a 10-day deal to retire as a Philly, they're going to play that clip. He was a homegrown talent who did so much for the city.
They're not going to play that clip.
And we still won. A little golf clap is okay.
They're not going to play the clip
That
of him
clip
hitting a
won't be
home run
played.
for the Brewers.
No, they will not
They will
play
play
that
all
clip.
the clips of him in a Phillies uniform.
Correct. They will not be celebrating when he comes back here. If there's Rhys Hoskins and God, if Mike Lieberthal's on the Wall of Fame, Rhys Hoskins better sure as hell be.
He's gonna have a.
When they
They'll
show
have a
Rhys Hoskins
statue on
night,
there.
they are not going to celebrate Rhys Hoskins doing stuff against the Phillies as a Brewer. That might be the dumbest thing that I've heard. They will not be celebrating that.
So when will that be? Like 15, 20 years from now?
Well, it depends.
Yeah.
So
I
when
don't
we're
know.
still doing the show 15, 20 years from now, we'll have
no.
save that text, Connor.
Dude,
Okay, I'll put it in the archives.
Dude, you two save that text.
Oh, yeah? You don't have 15 more in you?
I'm not waking. No, and I'm not. I may wake up and listen to you sometime around 9.
Oh, yeah, around
You better
9.
have
Around
a good.
9.
You better have a good 9 o'clock hour back then.
All right,
How about this? We have one on your guys' side.
Okay.
I
Oh,
want you to
thanks.
hear from your perspective what the fans sound like and see if this maybe changes your opinion a little bit.
Okay. Okay.
Couldn't agree with John and Andrew any more than I do. It's ridiculous that people were cheering for the home run. It's because of guys like Connor that this fan base got soft and is worried about what the national media will say about them. This same attitude is what cost us against the Diamondbacks. It will get them in Game 6 and 7.
That's literally what the
Bill from
it might have
Philadelphia.
been, might have been the same person yeah, it was Bill on Twitter.
Hey, another one I got here. A portion of this fan base is trying to project that we are no longer the jerks of the 700 level. Worried about changing that perspective. That it's like, we got to make sure that the national media loves us. And you fell into that trap last night.
But here's the deal.
I got to tell you, that's where we will debate.
Yeah, but
But
John, I do care.
the thing is, I get it. The no one likes us, we don't care. And it was nice to see Jason Kelsey yesterday. It was very nice. Had a good conversation with Jason. He's a great dude. No one likes us, we don't care is the biggest bunch of crap that has ever been stated. It's not true.
I agree with your statement.
And you and I both believe, yes, we do care. But the thing is that you can't, I don't think that you concern yourself with changing that narrative. Just realize it's never going to change.
I just hope that
No.
ESPN or
Don't.
First Take
Stop
or
believing that.
Fox Sports puts out the video of Rhys Hoskins getting the ovation when he first stepped up to the
By the
plate.
way, they did last night. SportsCenter had it.
Great.
SportsCenter overnight had it on the radio. They had it on the TV. Scott Van Pelt's show, I believe, had it too.
Okay.
But I'm going to just tell you, this is a fool's errand on your part. There is extreme bias against this city in New York, in Boston, from the Boston, New York media elite that are at these networks. I worked for both of them for almost 2 decades. And I can tell you flat out, there's bias, accept it. It's never
I'm
going.
going to fight the good fight, John.
It's never going to
It ain't
change.
about how hard you hit.
And when, it's never going to change.
It's about how hard you get hit.
And when they come back at you,
That's how winning is done.
Yeah, it's just
Come on,
they're going to be
John.
all over it. I'm just telling you.
They're
going to be all over it.
Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Jackie on the cell. Hello, Jackie.
Hi.
Hi, Jackie.
How you doing?
Okay, how are you guys?
Wonderful.
Good.
I think the Rhys Hoskins thing, because I was watching, I thought the ovation was great. And then I think, like, when he got picked off at second and they all kind of smirked, it was funny. I think the home run, like, that's why the crowd cheered. It kind of tied in, like, hey, we picked you off, you came back, you got us with a home run. I don't think the game was in jeopardy. I don't think it was.
The game was in jeopardy. It was 3-1. Come on.
We were playing last night. I'll say a couple weeks ago was my birthday. My son took me to the game.
Happy birthday.
And thank you. We were playing the Blue Jays. My son's best friend's brother is Davis Schneider.
Oh, cool.
Every time Davis came up,
Great ball
we
player.
cheered.
That's different. You have a personal relationship with the player. I get
Yeah,
that
but you
completely.
know the fan base. They think they have a personal relationship.
They
Like,
don't.
He did a lot for the city.
He did do a lot
That's
for the
why
city.
you cheered for him. That's why they cheered for him when he was introduced. That's why they cheered for him at the beginning. But when he's trying to beat the Phillies, Jackie, that is it. That is it.
Yeah.
You do not root for, you do not cheer for, you do not celebrate the opposing player.
Oh, well, just on this one time.
You're just kind,
We are huge sports fans. My sons and I, every game, on the Eagles Sunday, I cook at his house every Sunday.
Jackie, can I
Sports fan.
ask you a
That's
question?
That's a beautiful thing.
Yep.
Lie detector question for you. You're on the lie detector right now. If Rhys Hoskins has one of those moments tonight.
No,
You're in the-
that's it.
Oh, so it's a
no.
one-time
So now, all right,
thing.
Jackie. By
Thanks
the way,
for the call,
there you go.
Jackie.
Thank you, Jackie. Love you.
It's a one-time thing, Connor.
One-time thing.
One
yeah,
home run. One home run's
Guess
allowed.
what? I don't believe any of these people who cheered for him last night won't do it tonight and won't do it tomorrow.
I believe
don't
that
believe any of them.
entirely. I believe there's nuance in this fan base.
I believe they will do it over
No,
and
because,
over
again.
again.
It would be a new crowd tonight.
Yeah, but I believe they'll cheer for him. And
I think he'll get the ovation in his first at bat. I don't think he'll get it if he goes yard.
Baloney.
Absolutely.
It's a new
Would you
crowd.
like to place a nice
Dude,
wager on
I'm
it?
hearing people say it was just a
that it was
3-1
justified,
ball game.
and the game was in hand. I'm like, the game was in hand. Your bullpen was totally taxed. Your bullpen was. They literally put out.
Yeah.
They on another night. If Saturday night didn't happen, they would have taken Wheeler out after 6 last night, or let him maybe start the 7th and not had him go to 114. They did it because the bullpen was taxed. The manager talked about it before the game and after the previous game. So the game was not in hand. The game was not over. It's ridiculous. Absolutely absurd.
And you can't go hindsight that they won the game because it was an in-the-moment thing. That's not a fair argument, so I'm not going to make that one.
Right.
But
no, have awareness in the game. Your team's up 3-0.
Right.
That made it a tight game. You don't cheer it.
Totally understand that argument. Here's the baseline argument for the people who did cheer. It's okay to like people.
Oh, jeez. Enough of this crap.
No, but
we like people. We showed them we showed them we liked Connor, we showed them we liked people. We showed them with the great ovation and that everybody enjoyed it and it was thing. At that point, he's trying to beat the Phillies. This is the most inane argument I've ever heard. Well, people like people.
All right, let me ask you something, Connor.
It's inane.
And we'll discuss this coming up on the other side. There have been times, I'm sure, where you have gone to games to see an opposing player that had no ties with Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Like last year, I went to see the Tigers because I wanted to see Miguel Cabrera. I also went to the Angels game because I wanted to see, not Mike Trout, he's a fraud, Shohei Ohtani. And I did not cheer when Ohtani got a base hit. And I cheered when Miguel Cabrera went 0 for 4 and ran like an 18-second from home to first ground out.
Those guys didn't play here.
All right, well,
They're not ingrained in the community.
Save the conversation because those also might be great people for all I know. Maybe not Ohtani. He threw his interpreter under the bus. It's Kincade and Salciunas. I know this is going to be a show that's hot and heavy today. Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now is the time to become a Fanatic MVP. Go right now to 975thefanatic.com.
today, but there's some things that I'm just going to push off because of
Yes.
of what happened last night. We will play something from Larry Boa at some point today. He was on with
Saw
the
Larry
Bob Cooney
yesterday.
midday show. Yeah, you saw him at the
He was in the
Dawkins
group
golf outing.
He was in the group playing behind us.
Okay,
And Larry Boa hit up on us twice.
good.
Larry Boa's group hit up
You're
on us
playing too
twice.
slow.
And I said to Javon Curse, I said, you go pick a fight with Larry Boa. I'll be right behind you.
Yeah,
Because Larry will kick your ass.
he probably
He
would.
goes, that man looks like he has old man strength.
Yeah, he probably
And
does.
he doesn't look like an old man.
I'm not messing around with Larry Boa.
No, don't.
But I did kind of scoff at something he said yesterday. So
You
just don't-
did? Okay.
Just don't tell him that I said that.
Oh, no, he's going to hear. He's going to
Just
hear.
don't tell him that I said that. You know what? Let's play it, and then we'll get back to the Rhys Hoskins conversation. Let's play it because I've talked it up enough at this point.
You have.
Here's Larry Boa yesterday with the midday show talking about Taijuan Walker.
How many big league, you count the Yankees, Dodgers, whoever you want to talk of, Baltimore, how many have 5 deep? They're really good. Walker keeps you in the game. I know last night he gave up a couple home runs, but if your 5 starter gives you 5 or 6 innings and those other guys are doing what I don't think it's an issue. I know it's people get, they're a little antsy right now because when he gets out there, it seems like he hasn't had his great stuff. You know, I think we're going to be fine, and I think Rob's going to stick with him for a while.
I hope not. And I hope part of that was
He's
organizational speak.
Well, I think that and too, we want to give him the proper respect. He understands the game.
He does.
And understands that maybe the great start gives him a little bit of grace. A little bit of a breathing period.
Maybe.
Whereas if they were in a divisional race that was tight, right now they may think differently.
And I've made this perfectly clear. If there's no Spencer Turnbull, right? Like I'm not asking for Dylan Covey, who just went on the injured list. I'm not asking to call up Griff McGarry, right? I'm not. Hurry up, let's bring up Mick Abel.
You're not being a ridiculous fool.
Because I have a legitimate option in the bullpen that was pitching at a ridiculous level before Walker came back. That's why me and a lot of Phillies fans, you guys included, are so passionate about the short leash, not the long leash that Larry Boa was talking about, but the short leash for Taijuan Walker. And I don't know if he's necessarily keeping them in ball games where his last 4 outings, 4 earned runs on 5 innings pitched, 5 earned runs on 6 innings pitched, 3 earned runs on 4 2/3, 2 earned runs in just 3 1/3.
Yeah, I don't think he's keeping him.
That's not really keeping you in a ball game.
That's where I would respectfully disagree, especially from a distance.
Yes, respectfully, because I don't want to get my ass kicked.
Larry could kick him.
All right, let's continue this conversation. Rhys Hoskins, the incredible ovation, well-deserved last night.
Well-deserved.
In the top of the 2nd inning yesterday. And then the, not loud, but ovation that he did get.
The boos did far outweigh the cheers.
But
at the
there
home
shouldn't
run.
have been cheers at all, in my opinion. When he hits a home run, it makes it a 3-1 ball game. And I don't like that people are saying, well, it made it just a 3-1 ball game.
And the game was in hand.
It was not in hand.
It's ridiculous.
You can't say a game is in hand when your bullpen's been taxed. And, oh, by the way, you're playing a good Brewers team. It's not like you're going up against the White Sox.
You're playing one of the 6 best teams in baseball.
Right.
Like, I mean, come on now.
So
let's stop with this. Well, you know, it's just a game. No, it could matter.
It was
could matter for
just a game in June, guys. All right, let's go back to the phone line, get some texts ready there, Connor, as well. Let's go to our man, Tasty Cake, Dom. Dommy, good morning.
Hi, Dom.
Hey, John. Hey, Andrew. How are you?
How you
buddy.
doing?
Okay, I'm doing well. How are you?
You sound great, dude.
Yeah, I went to a wedding last week with my oldest friends in the world, John, and a lot of great feedback on your show.
That's awesome.
We appreciate them all.
And the other thing is my beautiful niece said that the most respectful, nicest young man she knows in the world is Connor Thomas.
That's good.
Wow.
Torrey's the best, too.
That's very nice.
Yeah. The other thing that just went in my head real quick, I'm sorry, with that Larry Boa cut. Andrew, Taijuan Walker didn't lose that game the other night. Topper, you got Harper standing on third with 1 out, and you send a 10-year-old up to the plate. That manager lost that game. Manager lost. There's no way that Pache's going to drive.
Dude, I'm going to start with Walker. When you're down 2-0, you make it 2-2. Then in a blink of an eye, you're down 4-2 again.
Okay.
Yeah, he gave it. He kept giving it right back.
Now, John, here's what I wanted to say to you real quick: is what Zach Wheeler did last night. With that ump was squeezing that.
Oh, it was terrible.
You couldn't throw a penny through that strike zone.
Both pitchers were affected by it. Yeah.
it was the most impressive fouling of the season because he got behind on. He had to groove the ball a couple of times to guys, and because he's down 2-0 in the count because he got no corners on the ball whatsoever.
It was ridiculous.
And he was able to pitch in that situation, still be as dominant as he was. And thanks for the call, Don.
I would say that everybody who continues to tell me, I like the human element of the game. You're ridiculous. That was a terribly umpired game that could be umpired perfectly.
Yeah, but John, Dom only calls in because of the human element of that game.
99.87% accuracy. It can be done. And you don't have that. And Zach Wheeler gets to do his craft without having to go, wait a minute, I just threw strikes and I've not gotten the call.
You know what's fun and exciting? 99.87% accuracy.
Yeah, it is, because then it allows great players to be great, whether they're hitters or whether they're pitchers. It allows you to challenge it that you're not dealing with, well, this umpire likes to call a low strike. He decides that tonight we're calling low strikes, and tonight's umpire decides we're not going to call that. Why? Why would we're going to give them the ability?
There was an egregious one.
Oh my gosh!
Two nights ago, the final game against the Cardinals, where there was a pitch way outside on I think it was right-handed batter, or it was inside on a right-handed batter, and he rung him up.
Yeah.
And then the next batter was a lefty outside, exact same spot. But because it was a lefty and it seemed outside the way the umpire was lined up, he called it a ball. Exact same pitch. One was a strike, one was a ball.
When you hear when you hear John Kruk, when you hear Ruben Amaro, when you hear Mike Schmidt, and you hear them talk, the guys who played the game, none of them talk about the romance of, the human element. I love the human element of it.
Yeah,
they're like, these umpires are terrible at balls and strikes.
Well, Ricky Bo, who pitched, if he would like robot umpires.
He might like it too.
I don't think he would.
He may have liked current umpires. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so coming up next, we reset the entire show. Connor, I need you to answer the question about non-former players that you went out to see and if you wanted to see them succeed against your squad. And also some incredible audio from yesterday's Brian Dawkins golf outing as Brian Dawkins and Brian Westbrook both joined the midday show. B. West, I want to play that Jalen Hurts clip for you one more time about how much of an impact Hurts needs to make this year. He was also reminded of the offseason leading up to the 2004 Eagles. That team got to the Super Bowl, Johnny. And
I remember.
And Brian Dawkins may have explained what could have gone wrong for the Eagles last year and why that won't happen this year. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Phillies take down the Brewers. I'm Connor.
Philadelphia. A beautiful day in South Philly last night, Citizens Bank Park. Rhys Hoskins makes his return to Philadelphia, gets the incredible ovation when he first steps up to the plate. Great job by the Phillies, by the way, for also putting up the video, the welcome back video. They always do such a great job with everything. I mean, they're just such a great organization.
They showed some of it on the TV last night. I did not see enough.
I saw them tweet it. They tweeted out the video.
Oh, they did?
Yeah,
okay, I did not. I did not catch it. I'm going to have to check it.
Yeah, check out the Phillies account. It had everything. It had everything in Rhys Hoskins from when he first came up, and Rhys Lightning was born, all those home runs that he hit. Also the moment, I think I forget what charity it was, when he raised over $350,000 on a one night thing. It was audio of his charity work that he did. The on-the-field play, what Philadelphia meant to him, what he said about Philadelphia. It was beautiful.
We are not the Phillies flagship.
No.
But you and I both are in unison. The Phillies do so much right.
Yes, absolutely.
As an organization.
Yes.
And that's got to come from the top. It's got to come from John Middleton and how he sets the organization up and everything. But the Phillies do so many things right.
Yeah, absolutely.
They really do.
And then when you have great players that are
as do the Eagles and other organizations, but the Phillies just have they've got it down pat.
They do. And then when you have players that embody that, right? That family feel, and that's who Rhys Hoskins was when he was with Philadelphia. And it's a shame, again, we talked about it earlier, it's a shame that his last season in a Phillies uniform, he doesn't play a game because he gets hurt during spring training. But we're also talking about the moment when he hits the home run, and there are people that are still celebrating it at this moment. So, Connor, let me know if we have any texts. I want to go to the text line and the phone line. He nods his head emphatically in there, 610-632-0975. In a few minutes, I'm going to play you some audio from Brian Westbrook and Brian Dawkins. Speaking of legends, two Philadelphia legends, two Eagles legends that were on with Bob Cooney, Amy Fadul, and Ray Dunn yesterday at the Brian Dawkins golf outing. And they said some pretty eye-opening stuff and may have painted a picture as to what happened last year. They know what goes on in a locker room.
And a couple things just really caught my ear.
Yeah, absolutely. But what do we have on the text line about the Rhys Hoskins, just Rhys Hoskins, period? Because I'm sure majority of it is bad-mouthing John and I for not being pro-celebration of a home run by an opposing player that made it a 3-1
which
ball
is
game.
such a controversial opinion.
How dare we, John?
It's unbelievable.
Scott from Maryland checks in.
Yeah, hello,
Hi, Scott.
It says, it's a regular season game in June. Rhys hits a solo shot in the 7th. Absolutely cheer that. In September, a different story. It's not 1980 where every game is crucial. 6 teams get in now. The wild card is almost clinched. Give Rhys a hand.
So I'm going to hear the same thing in July. It's just a game in July.
Just a game.
I'm going to hear the same thing. It's just a game in August. It's just a game in September.
Why do you say that? You don't believe that people can shift their focus depending on the time of season?
I think you should try to win every game you possibly could when you have World Series or bust expectations.
Did you see Alvarado last night? You see Jose Alvarado?
Fired up.
Was that game last night just one game to him?
No.
Or that energy to his teammates? No.
Okay.
They realized the importance of playing one of the best teams in baseball in your building, and that game had an October feel to it. Tom McCarthy, even at the break. This game sort of has that
the Brewers are a playoff team.
They're a team that you very well may meet in October.
Look, I would still be against it. But let's say Rhys Hoskins, because of the injury, had to do a one-year prove-it deal with the Chicago White Sox, who are 15-45 this year. Fine. You want to celebrate when he hits the home run, makes it 3-1, because I don't expect anybody else in the White Sox lineup to make it a 3-2 or a 3-3 ball game. Fine. I'll give you that. But the Brewers are a first-place baseball team.
It's crazy.
They're 36-24 this year. You could see them in the playoffs.
No, you could see them overtake you for the one of the seeds.
You never know.
It's unbelievable.
Okay, well, this next texter says there's some nuance with it. Will checks in from PA and says,
Will.
41-19 going into last night's game. Game 61 of 162. I'm going to cheer for a beloved player. Get over it. If it's game 162 and it's win and get in, totally different story.
That's unbelievable.
We can turn.
You know what you don't need? You know
flip the switch on and off.
And you know what you might not need? You might not need game 162 if you take care of your business in these games that reportedly don't mean anything.
Right.
They're not
That's
big
true.
deal. They're just a game in June. No, you know what it does? How about not having to play game 162 or 161 allows you to then set up your rotation?
Yeah.
How about if that kind of thing? Things matter. Again, these just, well, that doesn't matter. No, they do matter. Ask Jose Alvarado last night how much that outing mattered, how much that game mattered.
Yeah.
It mattered, and they know it mattered.
And that's a good baseball team in the Milwaukee Brewers. Look, I knew coming in today
that this was going to be
that we'd be on the opposite side of things, which it's amazing. Something I want to do today, and we'll do this later on the show. I want you guys to come up with the things that wouldn't fly back in the day when it comes to sports. Like this would not have flown at the vet, right?
No, it would not have.
We have talked about how some things it's probably good that things have changed, right? From a fan's perspective, because a lot of times we talk about teams and what they should do, and just yesterday we talked about old school approaches that would still work today. What about from a fan's perspective? Things that wouldn't have flown back in the day that are flying now, like the standing ovation for Trey Turner. Ultimately, it worked for an extended stretch.
I do believe in old school, the Philly I grew up in, that a Rhys ovation for a player like that would absolutely have happened.
Yes, when he first steps up to the plate,
then,
absolutely.
from that point on, the fans would have gone out of their way to make him uncomfortable.
Yes.
That they would have been, we'll show you the proper respect, then we're going to show you the proper respect.
Right.
You're the opposition now.
All right, well,
You're not one of ours.
think of some answers, and we'll get to this later on in the show, and we'd love to hear from you more on the Rhys Hoskins ovation, which we all love.
Yes.
But then also the celebration from a lot of you when the home run was hit, 610-632-0975. I think that's an absolute violation because you're cheering against your team. Bottom line, I mean, ultimately, Connor,
you're cheering against your team.
I know you're pro applauding Hoskins for the home run yesterday.
I mean, no, I didn't do either. I'm rather neutral on the topic.
Okay, you're neutral.
If you were in the stands, be honest with us.
No.
Be honest with us. Would you have cheered that home run?
No.
Okay. Can you agree, even though you're Mr. Neutral, that in the moment, cheering for the Hoskins home run was cheering against the Phillies?
Yeah.
There's nothing to agree, but there's nothing to agree on there. It is.
Technically,
it's fat. No, it's not technically.
Well,
You're rooting against the Phillies.
Hang on now. What was the crowd reaction when Rhys Hoskins got thrown out at home? Was it, poor Rhys, or was it loud?
No, it was unbelievable.
It was a great play by Rojas, and I think people loved the interaction.
The double butt
which
tap
was great. It was a great interaction.
They cheered loudly against him not scoring a run that could have hurt you earlier in the game because they still want the Phillies to win. But when Rhys Hoskins has an individual moment, they recognize it. I think that's respect for the player. I think that's showing kindness and love for a player who gave it back. Being kind should not be looked down upon, whether it's sports or life in general or anything.
There's nothing. You are not being unkind when you boo an opposing player. You are not being unkind when you root for someone trying to beat the Phillies. How this becomes kindness is absurd. You're not being if you start cussing a guy out, your dog cussing a guy out.
You're going the opposite way. I'm not saying it's unkind to boo. I'm saying it is kind to cheer.
No, then you are saying it's unkind to boo.
No, it's not. It's not just one or the other, John.
No, it absolutely is. If you put the parameter of you're doing it under kindness, then doing the opposite would be doing unkindness. That is absolutely what you're saying.
It is not unkind to, like, if you're walking into Wawa and there's someone, 15 steps behind you. It's not unkind to just walk into the store and not get the door. People do that all the time. But if I was to stand there and hold it, that would be kind. It's not always one or the other.
It would be absolutely then unkind. You're saying there's like a negative connotation if you don't cheer.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying there's a positive connotation if you do, and I'm neutral if you don't. I wouldn't have done it.
Connor, you do realize every cause has an effect. So you cannot do that. You cannot say one thing and go, well, it doesn't have to do with the other. It does. Every single thing has a cause and an effect.
I think that's a pretty justified point, and that's a little too, you're looking at binary.
You made it, you think it's justified.
You guys are looking at it too binary, where one's good and one's bad.
No, you're just, because
I'm anti-cheering for opposition, plain and simple, period. Kindness, non-kind, forget kindness. We don't have to be, everybody doesn't have to be nice. Bullying's okay sometimes. Yeah, it's okay. I was the fat kid. Bullying helped me out. All right, I'm pro bullying.
If more people got bullied occasionally, maybe some people would shut their mouths.
We shouldn't cheer.
Public.
We shouldn't cheer for the opposition.
Everybody gets bullied in life,
unless Rhys Hoskins is your god. Let's go to Jay in West Philly. Hello, Jay.
Hi, Jay.
What up, fellas? What up?
What are you doing, my man?
You probably had Hoskins tattooed on your chest last night, didn't you?
Nah, it wasn't no tattoo. It was on my shirt, bro.
Of course. Well, that's fair. I'm okay with people wearing the Hoskins shirt yesterday.
Hey, look, what you heard yesterday was cheers for somebody that got stabbed in the back by Benedict.
Stop.
Hey, wait a minute. What? Jay, I'm going to tell you this.
Yeah.
Your opinion on this is not that off base because Rob Thompson agrees with
but
you.
John, people aren't watching Rhys Hoskins saying, poor Rhys, he got stabbed in the back. Nobody's watching that.
He was the one that mainly recruited him there during the time when he was him and Hall.
He did.
Boris wanted all this. Who was talking to him? Rhys
was the ambassador to get him here.
Yeah, and so was the $330 million from John Middleton's pocket.
By that MV that his
Oh, your Bryce Harper hatred is crazy.
Jay, what do you think about him winning NL Player of the Month?
Look, the NL Player of the Month.
They just hand those out.
He got his buddies here. You got his buddy at Ovation, and then you got Castellanos out there, his other childhood friend, all his buddies there, and still no ring.
I got to tell you this, Jay.
Come on.
Jay,
What
the
did Hoskins
manager
win?
The manager feels the way Jay does because the manager on the record in spring training said our lineup would be better if Rhys Hoskins was our first baseman and Harper was our right fielder. He said it on the record.
Okay. And they're 41 and 19.
I understand. But it's what the manager feels the way, not about the backstabbing, but feels the way Jay did. The manager misses the fact that he had Rhys Hoskins. He thinks that they would be a better team with Rhys Hoskins. He said it on the record.
Okay.
No one put words in his mouth.
Jay has a hatred for Bryce Harper and a major love affair for Rhys Hoskins. And I think it's beautiful. I'm glad that he had his Hoskins shirt. You and I disagree with that yesterday. I was pro.
No, I would not be.
If you wanted to wear a Hoskins Phillies jersey or jersey yesterday, I was in favor of it. You gave him the ovation when he first stepped up to the plate. Just don't pound your chest when he hits the home run yesterday. All right, we'll get back to the Hoskins stuff in a second. But yesterday, an incredible event. Brian Dawkins golf outing yesterday. He raises money for incredible charities. Does a lot of great stuff for younger people in the community, which I absolutely love.
He's helping over like 25 high schools.
Yeah, and
he's unbelievable.
And this was the third annual golf outing?
And it gets bigger every year, and it was a great event. And Brian and his entire team should be very proud of themselves.
Absolutely. And so yesterday, Bob Cooney with Amy Fadul and Ray Dunn were there doing the show. So they did the show live from Penn Oaks yesterday, and they had Brian Westbrook and Brian Dawkins. Let's start with Westbrook. We'll play clip 1, Connor, first. Here's Brian Westbrook talking about how this offseason that the Eagles have had, or let me just say specifically the acquisition of Saquon Barkley, reminded him of 04.
The reason why you go get Saquon is because you want to protect your investment. Your investment is the quarterback. You put weapons, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, around your most valuable component, and you try to protect them. And so now the defense has to think about another thing. I just think about when we had T.O. on the team. Instead of the defense is focusing on me and Donovan and Pinkston, now they have to worry about another weapon out of the backfield. And if he could catch it in space, he can make anyone miss. He can take it to the house. He has the speed and ability to do that. And so now you have to take a half of your eye and put it on Saquon. That takes away from the attention that you have to pay to the quarterback, and that just helps the offense. And so now you're saying, how do we get the best of Jalen? How do we make sure that he has the best season that he can? Well, you give him a running back that teams have to respect.
So he's comparing this offseason pretty much to 04, and they did what in 04?
They went to the Super Bowl.
All right.
And they had a absolutely amazing year.
So, do we at some point have the SB or B conversation?
No, I think it's going to come about. I think it'll come about at a certain point.
And SB or B, if you're just tuning in, is Super Bowl or bust. I just don't want to say it out loud yet.
It was.
But you did. I know, but that's why I say SB or B.
And remember what you did in 2004. What one of the things Brian, referencing. I played golf with him yesterday and spent 18 holes with Javon Curse.
Yeah.
And that was an experience.
Oh, yeah.
The Javon Curse experience is one for everybody.
He's a good
but
dude.
He is, it's that they went out and got impact guys. So Javon Curse was one of the people they added to that team.
Yeah.
T.O., one of the people they added to that team. They've done the same thing.
A team that was already talented.
That was already talented, but they gave Donovan. And Donovan never got weapons like this.
No, not even close. Now, speaking of Jalen Hurts, we played this earlier, but we've been so focused on the Hoskins conversation that we haven't really been able to expand on it all that much. But B. West, and again, I want to make this clear, still connected with the Eagles organization. B. West talking about Jalen Hurts and how this season's pretty big for the franchise quarterback.
When you have weapons like Devontae, he has to touch the ball. You have weapons like AJ. There's so many weapons here. Everyone has to touch the ball, and they will. Maybe not in the same game, but they will. And so it's going to come down to this, and this is true in every team sport, especially here. Your best player has to play exceptionally well. And if Jalen Hurts plays exceptionally well, you're talking about a team that's going to win 13, 14 games and make a long run into the playoffs. If he's just middle of the road, turning the ball over, not leading in the way that he needs to, then they're going to be an average football team. Unfortunately, that's not kind of the sexy answer, but at the end of the day, that's the truth.
And oh, by the way, he was better than middle of the road last year.
Absolutely better than middle of the road.
But he wasn't who he was 2 years ago. And he had those weapons last year. Now he has even more this year, which is why I've said, and I say this respectfully, there are no excuses for Jalen Hurts this year.
There should be no excuses. Absolutely no excuses. Because all I would say to you is this. What do you believe? Let's just throw let's take out of the conversation. We're not talking about Patrick Mahomes. Every other top quarterback in the game. Do they have better tools and a better offensive line? If you take offensive line,
maybe not,
and weaponry.
There's one argument maybe for San Fran, depending how they look when the season starts.
I don't think their offensive line is as good.
But their weapons might.
Their weapons are really good.
Yeah, their weapons are really good.
And they have one of the best left tackles in the history of football.
Even that, if you told me it's a wash, I'm totally okay with that.
Right.
So your argument stands.
There's no excuses.
And here's the deal. I'm not saying no excuses for Mac Jones. Right, like I'm saying no excuses for Jalen Hurts because I think he has ability. Right. I'm not saying no excuses for Chase Daniel. I'm saying no excuses
in a derogatory way.
Yeah, I'm saying no excuses for a guy that was the runner-up for MVP 2 years ago and has now even more weapons at his disposal this year. Like, I don't think I'm being out of line saying no excuses for the guy. I'm holding him to a higher standard. Now's the time where his contract really kicks in. Now's the time where he has to ball out for the Eagles in order to win a Super Bowl. And is that fair?
No,
I think
that's very fair. That is very fair. And the one thing you hear Brian Westbrook say, if he leads the way he's can lead.
Yeah, but I don't know what that means.
You know what I think it means? I think it means, without putting words in anyone's mouth, I think it means that there are no excuses, and the quarterback better ball out, and the quarterback better ascend, better give more than he's given.
I got you, but
I think that's fair.
But I don't know, like when he says leads the way he's supposed to lead, like I don't need him, being the rah-rah guy all the time.
Okay, but I think you absolutely but you need to be the guy who.
When times are tough and people look at him for something.
How about this? When my starting quarterback decides to ignore the play call and go rogue, he needs to own it.
I got you.
This time
totally
around.
Fair.
Instead of the fact of hiding out and letting his head coach take the heat for it.
Totally fair. All right. Also, Brian Dawkins, it was his event. B-Dawk joined the midday show yesterday, and he gave an interesting answer as to why maybe things went poorly last year and why they might not go poorly this year. Take a listen.
In my opinion, you just had too many cooks in the doggone kitchen on both offense and defense. You can't have 3 and 4 voices talking about what we're going to do, different defensive styles. It needs to be one recipe served up by the cook and everybody else then teaching that recipe to everybody else under the ranks. That's what it's supposed to be. So it looks like they've gotten back to that formula, that you have an offensive coordinator, a defensive coordinator. Both of them have done, significant things in the past. I know one is younger than the other one, but you're talking about defense. If you look at Vic Fangio, if his last couple of stops are any indication of what to expect, this should be a vastly improved defense. And number one, discipline. This should be a much more disciplined team, technique sound team, tackling team, because his teams are that.
So
that's a huge.
It's a great answer.
Great answer.
And I know we focused more so on Vic toward the back end of that clip, but let me start with the offense. There was a story. I forget if it was Tim McManus's or Jeff McClain's. Remember, they both came out with a pretty damning story the day of the playoff game. One of them mentioned that players on the Eagles didn't know whose offense it was. Was it Sirianni's, Brian Johnson's, or was it trying to direct toward what Jalen Hurts wanted? Like, the players on the Eagles didn't know whose offense it was. It's Kellen Moore's now. When it comes to a defense, at one point in the season, they removed Sean Desai of third down game planning. So he was the defensive coordinator for downs 1 and 2, but not third down. I think that's a great answer from Brian Dawkins about the too many cooks in the kitchen, and maybe that's not an issue this year. So let's expand on that.
No, it better
also,
not be an issue.
Coming up, we continue the Rhys Hoskins conversation. I know the text line is heavy. We will play you how it sounded again when he made his when he stepped up to the plate for the first time last night. You'll hear that coming your way next. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Wheeler shuts down Milwaukee. I'm Connor Thomas, and this update is brought to you by Macy's.
Salciunas on this Tuesday morning. Coming up at 8:10 as he joins us every Tuesday, Jeff McClain from the Philadelphia Inquirer, Inquirer.com, will join us as mandatory minicamp begins. I know Nick Sirianni will be speaking to the media today. You know, just yesterday we were talking about Sirianni and how he hasn't really talked much about this year's team and the coaching, like his new role.
No.
Because he's talked during the combine, right? He's talked about the draft itself. So he hasn't really been able to talk about this specific team just yet and what he saw at OTAs and mandatory minicamp. So we'll hear from Sirianni later on today. We'll be playing the clips tomorrow. So we'll talk to Jeff about it coming up at 8:10. Also, maybe get an update on James Bradberry, find out what that situation is like because we've now reached June, the post-June 1st cut date. We'll see what the Eagles end up doing with Bradberry. So Jeff McClain joins us coming up at 8:10. Obviously, we have today's headlines with Connor Thomas at 8:05. Before we get back to the phones and the text messages, the majority of our conversation today has been about last night, the beautiful ovation for Rhys Hoskins in the top of the second inning when he first stepped up to the plate for the first time against the Phillies in a Brewers uniform. Here's how it sounded from the Milwaukee perspective when Hoskins made his first at-bat at Citizens Bank Park.
And now it's Rhys Hoskins. Now batting for Milwaukee, number 12, designated hitter, Rhys Hoskins.
I mean, I got goosebumps. Yeah, it's really cool. Really cool moment right there. See those signs in the stands. Amazing.
Do you think they were surprised? The Milwaukee announcers. Now, they're in baseball, so they know how passionate Philadelphia sports fans are.
I don't believe so.
You think they're not surprised?
No, I think they went into it knowing
expecting
that it was going to be pretty wild. And even Rhys said in different things, I saw him with Taryn Hatcher and others saying, when people said he expected to be booed.
Yeah, I remember that the Eric Kratz podcast.
He didn't expect to be booed. He said he just thought it would mean when he got booed, he thought he believed in himself that he would come home to Philadelphia
and do something.
And that he would get booed for it. He didn't realize that there would be people that are just very kind.
Well,
they want to be kind.
That do something took place last night in the 7th inning in a 3-0 ball game. Hoskins stepped up to the plate and he did something.
Hoskins deep left, and a homecoming for the ages for Rhys Hoskins. It's 3-1. They were cheering him earlier, and now some boos, but mostly standing and clapping for Hoskins.
So mostly standing and clapping. The boos were louder than the cheers, obviously. But you just heard, is that the TV broadcast or the radio broadcast? That was the TV broadcast of the Milwaukee Brewers pointing out the Phillies fans that were standing and applauding for Rhys Hoskins. Now, let me make this perfectly clear. I was pro people wearing Hoskins t-shirts and jerseys last night. You were not.
Pro the welcome ovation.
Super pro.
Very, very much.
Honestly, it lasted longer than I expected it to.
Yep.
And I did not have a problem with the length of that ovation at all.
It was fantastic.
It was an incredible ovation. I am anti supporting a player on a different team. I am anti-cheering against the Phillies. And for everybody who celebrated that home run yesterday, in that given moment, you were cheering against the Phillies.
Yes, you were.
Don't give me game in June. Don't give me game in hand when it made it a 3-1 ball game, by the way. Don't give me any of that nonsense.
Or more importantly, it's stop with the and Connor don't mean to jump on, but stop with the kindness. Just stop. It's not about kindness. It's about fandom. And it's not about, don't be an a-hole, but it's not about kindness. You are rooting actively against your team.
Right.
Period.
And after the game,
that's what you're doing.
I said it this morning. I said it last night to my wife, Christy, because the game ended before we fell asleep because it went so fast. Big picture, I'm glad it happened. Right? It was cool. It's a cool story. But in the moment, I was not celebrating it because it made it a 3-1 ball game. Ultimately, I'm happy because the Phillies won and Rhys had his moment, a second moment, because the ovation was really his moment. Then he hit the home run. That was more so for him and, oh, by the way, Brewers fans. not for Phillies fans.
Not for us.
That was not a moment for Phillies fans to celebrate. That was a moment for Rhys Hoskins, his teammates, and Brewers fans to celebrate. Phillies won. I know the story. I know how it played out, so I think it's cool that it happened. But in the moment, you should not have celebrated that.
I love it that Nolan sends in a DM and says, Rhys said it himself on the NBC Sports Philadelphia broadcast last night. He expected that he would be booed in Philadelphia because he would do something good for the Brewers that would be negatively impacting the Philadelphia fans.
He himself expected.
He didn't expect to be cheered when he did something good for the Brewers. He said it himself.
I think you can be competitive and kind.
All right, let me ask you. So I asked you this question earlier. We just didn't get a chance to really expand on it. So I'm sure you have gone to a game, whatever sport, because you wanted to see a player from the opposition.
I have,
Is that correct? So I've done that when I was a cosplayer for the Sixers. As
you
like
were a
to point
cosplayer.
Out. I went to almost every home game. I mean almost all 41 home games. But I made sure I was at the Lob City, Clippers games.
Yeah.
I made sure I was at the Miami Heat game with LeBron because I was getting tickets for free. And I remember a guy in front of me dropped his. This is when tickets were still paper back in my day. The ticket in front of me was $200, and I paid $0 to see the Miami Heat coming to town because we sat near the net as the cosplayers that we were. But I wasn't cheering when LeBron made a dunk.
No.
Even though the Sixers were in the tank.
Yeah.
So have you gone to games to see a specific player, and did you want to see them do something?
I have gone to a game to see specific players.
Yes.
The one that stands out the most to me is I made sure that when Bartolo Colon was pitching for the Mets, that I was in the building to watch that guy pitch.
And did you?
What was the fascination? Just his physique.
What is it the best?
Yeah,
No, I mean,
everything about it.
no, but I mean,
most interesting athlete.
that's sort of random to me.
You wanted
The
to see him hit a
Bartolo
home
Colon. I
run,
like
didn't
that,
you?
though.
No, I did not. I think this was pre the home run.
Okay.
Yeah, so I honestly, this was still when he just stood at the plate dead still. He's just an interesting guy to watch play the game.
Okay, but were you rooting for him to succeed?
Dude, he had a no-hitter through 5 or something, and I was not cheering for it. I was
Okay.
not applauding anything. The thing that I like the most is him striking out, just not even remotely. No, I don't cheer for players from the opposition.
All right. What if Rhys Hoskins was a pitcher? And he was on the mound yesterday, had a no-hitter through 5.
Or he was mowing down the Phillies.
Are you going, attaboy?
If he had come out of the game, let's say he's a pitcher, and he had thrown 5 or 6 no-hit innings, and he's removed from the game after
You're
giving up a hit.
giving an ovation.
I'm absolutely cheering for
that's
that.
ridiculous.
Oh, come on. You are not.
You can't
You're not
do
doing that. That's stupid.
So if Aaron Nola, let's say he did sign with the Braves, right?
And by the way, there was very...
Braves are different.
Well,
The Brewers are in first place baseball.
Connor, trying to tie you down to an opinion is literally it is the biggest moving target I've ever seen in sport. You can't do it. The Braves are different. Why? It's
a
ridiculous.
hated rival you play every year in the postseason that you don't like that organization or team.
But you're showing kindness.
All right, fine. Aaron Nola took the bag to pitch for the Nationals. They're not as hated as the Braves,
that's
but
fine.
they're still in your division.
That's fine. Braves and Mets are the only two.
So you're telling me, do you actually believe the Philly fan reaction would be different if he had come back as a Brave?
Absolutely.
I absolutely
100%.
do
No,
not.
we did.
What
No,
a
we
billion%.
No,
bro.
I do not.
What are we
Jason
talking
worked
about?
for the Nationals. We literally did see
Yeah,
that.
but I don't. No, I do not believe it at all because
If he
he
went to the-
didn't
if-
leave. Jason Worth left on his own. Rhys Hoskins left because one of his teammates took his position.
Okay, but he would have picked the team that he wanted to sign with.
Yeah, if he goes to the
Yeah, but
Braves,
If
he's
he
a
went to
rat.
it would be different if he went
I
to the
guess
Braves.
he would never be treated poorly here.
All right, let's go to the phones.
No, he
let's
would
go
not
to
be
let's go to
treated poorly.
Joe in Philly. What's up, Joe?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
How you doing,
Good,
Joe?
buddy.
So first time in a while that I probably agree with John on this. You give him a standing ovation, and then that's it.
Yes.
Listen, he was great. That home run he hit where he spiked the bat, that was great.
That was
But guess
awesome.
what? That's in the past, all right? It was awesome.
Get
But
him,
guess
Joe.
what? Now I don't care, all right? You're out of here. You play for a team, like you said, the Brewers, who are good, and we're competing with you. So if I was at the game last night, he hits that home run, I'm booing him.
I
It is
love
what
it.
it is.
I love it.
Or even if you don't boo, you don't cheer. Like you could sit there in silence.
Correct. Listen, he loves the city. His wife loves the city. Could it have worked out? Maybe. But listen.
You still respect him. Like, it's not like you hate Rhys Hoskins, but you're not going to cheer when he does something against your team.
Correct. And the guy that called earlier that hates Bryce Harper is way better than Hoskins. So I don't even know how.
There's not even a question.
Yeah, that's Jay from West Philly. Joe, we appreciate it. Welcome to the island of three people. Me, it's the three of us.
Just the reminder, though, in Jay's defense, the manager of the Phillies said himself, this team would be better if Rhys was their first baseman and Bryce, Bryce was their right fielder.
That has nothing to do with Rhys and everything to do with Nick Castellanos.
No, I'm saying that's what he believes.
I will also tell you this, John.
Yes.
Speaking with Jay for a long time, Jay did not Jay didn't like Bryce Harper like 3 years ago.
No, I understand.
So it has nothing to do with
Jay has
his boy not being here anymore.
Jay has that fascination with Rhys Hoskins that just and the anti Bryce Harper.
Yeah, he's anti Bryce Harper, which is weird. All right, I also want to know if you were there, tell us about it. And I know Sean from Levittown was there. Sean, what was that like last night, man?
Hi, Sean.
How you doing, guys? I mean, I tell you, last night that atmosphere was absolutely insane.
Seemed like it.
I mean, it was crazy. Just the amount of support that they gave Rhys. I mean, throughout his year, especially with his torn ACL too. I mean, coming into his last year of his contract, I believe it was.
Yeah.
That was just it was crazy. I will admit now, I did boo and cheer at the same time when he homered.
Okay.
Because I was.
Wait a minute. How do you boo and cheer?
Hey, it's a boo and a clap.
I respect Rhys, and obviously I didn't want to see him hit a homer against the Phillies, but at the same time, I respected him so much to the point where I'm like, okay, Wheeler was dealing during the entire game, and it was only 3-1. I was like, you know what? It is what it is at this point. I didn't think the Phillies were going to lose the game at all, and I don't know. I guess I'm on an island stuck by myself right now. So, but just like I said, just the atmosphere last night was amazing, and I'm going back down again tonight. I specifically got those tickets just because of Rhys. I wanted to see Rhys.
So are you going to do second standing ovation tonight during his first at bat? Because I know there's going to be a lot of people that weren't there last night that want to give their ovation tonight, and I don't blame anybody for doing that. Will you do it a second day in a row?
I believe I will. I don't think I'll do it as much as I did it yesterday.
Okay.
And I do believe if he does hit a home run again tonight, then I'm definitely going to boo.
Okay.
Okay, please.
Yeah,
That's good.
Because now he's trying to hurt your team again. Thanks for the call, Sean. Enjoy yourself tonight. So if you were at the game yesterday, would love to get more of that reaction.
That's an honest man.
That's an honest man right there, and I appreciate it. So you can climb in on the phone line, text line 610-632-0975. Coming up next, an old friend has not shown up to his new team's OTAs.
Uh-oh. Wonder what's going on.
So Jeff McClain's coming up at 8:10, and I wonder if we'll ask about Hassan Reddick, who was just happy to be with the Jets, right?
Oh, no, he's just happy to.
Also, an all-time parlay was hit yesterday watching that Phillies game. I'll tell you what that was next. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Bob Cooney.
The one, the only, the...
47 on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic on this beautiful Tuesday morning. Got a tweet from my man Nick Boyle just now.
What's up, Nick
refreshed
Boyle?
it as soon as we came out of the segment. Nick Boyle, great fireman in the Roxborough area.
We love the firemen out there.
I've had a few beers with him. Agree with you and John. You give Hoskins his respect, his first at bat, the standing O. After that, it's game on. He's wearing a different colored jersey than the team we root for. Cheering for him after the homer is crazy, especially in a tight game. Oh, but I've been told 3-0 turn to 3-1 still means the game's in hand.
When your bullpen had worked 11 innings the last 2 nights.
Hey, come on.
That's such a anyone who says, yeah, the game's in hand. That is absolutely. So tell me you're unaware.
Well, you know what that is?
How it works.
It's not that they're unaware.
No, they are unaware.
No, it's not that they're unaware. It's them trying to explain why they think it was okay.
It's a false justification.
It's a very false justification.
There's no way that game was in hand at 3-1 going to the pen.
There was not. Not after all the work. All of the things that had gone on the last.
To your point, Connor, it's a false justification. It's people trying to say, no, this is why. Like if it was 1-1, I wouldn't have.
If it was 1-1, I wouldn't have cheered. You sure as hell would have.
I will make an argument. I just don't think people have articulated it the right way.
Okay.
How confident you are in this team definitely plays into it.
I got you,
but that doesn't change the score.
Man, dude, but anytime we talk Phillies, I don't think we're getting it as much anymore. But anytime we talk Phillies, we still get the schedule thing. Yeah. I'll just wait till they play a good team. Well, you're playing a good team last night.
And you're playing one of the best teams in baseball and a team that could potentially keep you from home field advantage or something like that in the National League.
Right. So you need to pile up these wins.
This is a big series. It's June, but it's a big series.
Oh, it's only June. That's what I've been hearing. It's only
by
May.
the way, the other 2 division winners are leading by every division in the National League is being led by 7 games today.
That's crazy.
So that is crazy. And I don't think that's something you ever see.
All right, we're gonna get to this Hassan Reddick thing in a second.
Yes.
But speaking of the Rhys Hoskins home run, did you see the parlay I retweeted last night?
No.
Who was that from, by the way? One of our listeners?
Some guy, Scott from Delco.
Good job, Scott.
But he tweeted it to NBA Slime.
Right.
NBA Slime, you know his father.
Right.
I don't know if you actually know who I'm talking about.
Yes.
But you know his father.
I do know his father.
And so he tweeted it at the NBA Slime, Terry Franconia.
Yes.
And I quote tweeted it because I saw it on the timeline. This guy, this parlay, Connor, all right? Phillies money line, Hoskins to hit a home run.
And he showed the ticket, by the way.
Yes. Phillies money line, Hoskins to hit a home run. All right, fair bets to make.
Hoskins to hit a home run, that's ballsy.
It is ballsy. Edmundo Sosa, not just to get a hit, to hit a single. Specifically hit a single. Correct score. Phillies 3-1.
Okay, that's wild.
Phillies under 4.5 total runs. Brewers under 3.5 total runs.
This is absurd.
Under 8 total runs, and then the Phillies run line of -1.5. Now, people were pointing out for them to have the correct score of 3-1, all those other things have to happen.
Yeah, but still, though, you can still bet them.
But it's still adding to the odds.
Right.
And that $10 bet won him $5,200.
That's
amazing.
Awesome. That is awesome.
Like, that's such a random bet to put together.
That's a random crazy bet.
And it hit. And that's freaking awesome. So congratulations to Scott from Delco.
That's why we play, baby. We're chasing that moment.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we do it. It's the Michael Jordan clip.
By the way, you were talking about just quickly. I got a piece that'll come up today on 97.5 The Fanatic. Asking yesterday at the Dawkins outing. I asked former NFL players. And I think 9 of them answered from I was putting it into my notes.
Mm-hmm.
9 different players I got the comments on. Asking them about sports talk radio because a couple of them started to quiz me on what we do for a living. And I asked this morning, what do pro athletes like the least about sports talk radio?
Did Connor answer this?
I heard you guys.
He heard the answer.
Because you said I was the only one that got it right.
You got it. Well, I put it out to a bunch of buddies and everything and said, what do you think? And a bunch of people on the golf course. What do you think they answered? What they like the least about it is when callers or hosts reference how they played the game.
Yeah.
They roll their eyes, they chuckle in their cars, they laugh out loud, and they're like, dude, stop it.
Yeah.
Like, stop it. Stop saying it.
Like Ricky Patalico can say it.
Right, exactly.
He
But no,
actually
that's different.
played the game.
And I asked them, what did they like the best about it? Getting to know what the fan base is feeling, and they all said they listen when they're winning.
Yeah, of course.
They listen when they're winning.
I don't blame anybody for not wanting to listen when they're losing.
And I said, what do you think of sports talk radio hosts? And I thought it was one of the best answers. The prevailing opinion was, who is this guy that is criticizing me?
Yep.
And where do they come from in this? And a couple of them even said, I bet the president of the United States or those people probably feel the same way. Who are these people criticizing me on TV when they have no idea what I deal with on a daily basis, the pressure I got on me and everything? And he says they sized up the hosts by their commentary and their insightfulness, and they felt the hosts were most outrageous. The ones who were most outrageous in their opinions and everything rarely ever showed their faces.
Interesting.
Where they got to know who they were.
Interesting.
And got to see them. So it was interesting. I'll put a piece up. It'll be a long-form piece up today on 97.5.
Check it out, 975thefanatic.com. Now, coming up next, we'll be speaking to Jeff McClain, but interesting storyline out of New York right now. Hassan Reddick has not arrived yet to not mandatory, voluntary OTAs. Their mandatory minicamp.
Theirs
it begins
later.
next week. I think it's June 12th is the first day of their mandatory minicamp, so next Wednesday. But Hassan Reddick, welcome to the new team that you're happy to be with. You don't care what happens with your contract, and you don't show up to OTAs. So I wonder, did the Eagles dodge a bit of a bullet here?
There were some
who would
question that Fletcher Cox, when he's talking about there are certain guys who were going rogue on the defensive side of the ball, chasing stats, things like that, instead of doing what they were asked.
Now, I know he's a vet, and he might not need OTAs, but then again,
no, you're a new team. New team.
You show up.
Fighting for a contract. Yeah.
I wonder if he would like hearing that from a sports talk radio host that never played in the NFL.
And you live in New Jersey.
So
you live in New Jersey.
You could make that.
You could easily make the trip right up the turnpike.
So we're going to talk to Jeff McClain coming up next, and we'll get into mandatory mini camp and what he saw in OTAs. But I'm also curious what he heard about Hassan Reddick, the trade that happened, and the fact that he said in his press conference he was happy to be with the Jets and then doesn't show up to OTAs because he doesn't have his contract yet. Mm-hmm. Interesting. It's Kincade and Salciunas. Today's headlines with Connor Thomas coming up at 8:05. Jeff McClain at 8:10 right here. 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Up.
Good morning, Philadelphia. Have a safe trip into work. I know John always likes it when I wish you a safe
I
trip.
appreciate that. Bob would always laugh at me.
Dude, I saw a car.
I like the safeness.
I saw a car this morning easily going 100 miles an hour on 76 this morning, almost clip a car because they had to do the veering through the traffic.
I swear
I was late.
Yeah.
I swear to you, every morning between 202 towards the Schuylkill, and then down the Schuylkill, I am passed by somebody doing minimum of 95.
Yeah.
And to me, I just say, where do you possibly have to be that you're driving that fast?
Well, that guy almost clipped the car in front of him.
One little turn and you're dead.
Yeah.
And more importantly, other people are dead.
Yep. Well, yeah, exactly. All right, so we have today's headlines with Connor Thomas coming up at 8:05. Jeff McClain will be joining us at 8:10 as we begin mandatory minicamp for the Eagles. Nick Sirianni will be speaking to the media today, so can't wait to hear what the head coach has to say. We'll be playing a lot of those clips tomorrow. But real quick, what we've been talking about today, majority has been the reaction to, or the ovation for Rhys Hoskins yesterday. We've mixed in some Eagles talk, but it's been a big Rhys Hoskins show today, because yesterday's ovation in the top of the second inning was absolutely beautiful, absolutely necessary, absolutely warranted. I love how long it went. I credit Major League Baseball for allowing it to happen, the umpiring crew to allow it to happen, because with the new rules, there was an issue earlier this season where a player made a return and they actually got called for a strike.
They didn't.
Yeah,
Did they really?
It happened earlier this season. I forget what it might have been. McCutchen with the Pirates when he made his first game. I forget. There was a moment earlier this year where a player either got called a strike or the pitcher got called a ball. They did a pitch clock thing because I think the memo didn't come in on time that player was going to get an ovation.
That's terrible.
And it's so stupid.
Wake up.
Just have a feel, right? If you're an umpire, just have a feel. You know that this specific player is probably going to get an ovation. So credit to Major League Baseball, the umpiring crew, whoever sent in the memo,
and
whether
JT.
it's the Phillies or Brewers. Yeah, JT as well.
I love how JT stepped right into the infield. He stepped towards the pitcher's mound,
right,
in order to just give Rhys the stage too. And then the tag out at home plate.
Oh, it was awesome.
And both of them patting each other on the backside was
great.
hilarious.
By the way, look, I've always talked about his defense being good. That was a seed.
That was
by Rojas.
Pretty good game last night by the
dude, that was a great throw.
And I think 2 hits from
nice
Rojas
day.
last night.
Nice day yesterday.
I mean, he's more than had a nice day. He's out hitting like 4 or 5 guys on the roster.
He's making a good case to be traded to Miami for Jazz Chisholm. He's upping his trade value. Johan Rojas is.
He's just.
That was
fine.
a good game yesterday. Connor texted me over the weekend. I ignored it. Connor just making sure you're okay. Rojas had a good game. Of course I'm okay. I'm happy when my team does well, and that's why I don't cheer when an opposing player hits a home run. No matter what my feelings are about Johan Rojas, if he does something for the Phillies, I will applaud it. No matter what my feelings are about Rhys Hoskins, when he does something against the Phillies,
you will boo it.
I will boo it.
Correct.
What do we have on the text line, Connor? Because I know there's people that are all in their feelings today.
This is interesting because Ray from Center Valley is coming after you for something.
Okay.
He says, which one is it? When Embiid scores 70 and fans say, let's see what he does in the playoffs, the answer is let's enjoy the ride. When the Phillies give up a home run in a 3-0 game to an ex-fan...
That's a stupid question!
Can I finish the text?
Joel Embiid plays for the Sixers!
May I please finish the text?
Sure.
When the Phillies give up a home run in a 3-0 game to an ex-fan favorite, we have to act like it's Game 5 of the World Series. Why can't fans just enjoy all aspects of this Phillies ride? Hoskins was a big part of this Phillies
era.
You're
enjoying
Let him have this
an aspect that negatively affected the Phillies.
I don't believe that with all due respect, that correlation is so dumb. You're not talking about Embiid scoring 70 benefits us, benefits our franchise that we root for. Rhys Hoskins doing anything well does not benefit us in the course of a game. I cannot believe that people are even trying to twist themselves into a pretzel to come up with some rationale to make a comparison. That's absolute insanity.
I was at a game 2 years ago.
That is insanity.
I was at a Sixers game 2 years ago. I watched Zach LaVine hit, I think, 10 threes. If not 10, he was right around it. He scored over 40 points.
Okay.
I was mesmerized. But I didn't cheer. Oh, hit another one.
This is amazing.
Like, stop.
I'm seeing individual greatness.
Like, and I get it. Oh, he was a fan favorite. Okay, but he negatively affected the Phillies last night.
But comparing it to Embiid?
Dropping 70.
That makes no sense.
You're comparing a player that plays for one of our teams with somebody who doesn't and did something against one of our teams.
I think it's the emphasis put on the game is the main argument there.
But here's the deal. Like, earlier this year, so Rhys Hoskins doesn't play for the Phillies, right? When he was doing the tears thing to Jeff McNeil, I loved that.
We were laughing at that.
One,
loved it.
because the Phillies weren't involved. Two, it was with the Mets, right? And that's awesome. But yesterday was against the Phillies. Why are we trying to make excuses for cheering for an opposing player?
No, it's not excuses. It's justifications, and that's it. Just is.
I just don't get it. All right, it's 8:05.
Sponsored by Charmin.
It's time now for today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
Today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
What up, Connor?
Hello. That wasn't your normal cheery what up.
No, because now it's your time. Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Pro Hoskins home run.
Let's start.
You want him to hit a grand slam tonight.
Calm down. Stop. All right, let's start with this.
You want him to somehow hit a walk-off in Philly. You want them to change the rules.
We can get to Andrew's headlines in a little bit. There's a guy that has surfaced on social media. A video came out of him wandering around. I believe it was Xfinity Live.
Oh, yeah.
And this dude looks just like Jalen Hurts. Enough that there are a lot of people coming up to him in the video. Now, the video obviously doesn't translate to radio, but you can go ahead and seek it out. This guy looks just like Jalen Hurts, and he gets a lot of people coming up to him asking if he is, treating him like he is.
They're buying him drinks.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Yeah, I got you. I saw it. And by the way, he does resemble him, Connor.
Yeah.
It's
like a lot.
It's an amazing resemblance, except physique.
Yeah, I get it. But, dude, did you watch the video?
Yeah, I did.
90% of the bros were like, yo, because they're hammered.
Right, they're hammered.
So they got the beer goggles on, and they're probably going, oh, my God, it looks like Jalen Hurts.
I'll tell you this, from the neck up, he is a dead ringer.
The thing we got to understand, though, we see these athletes a lot closer than most people ever do.
Right.
On TV, you don't know how tall he is compared. You can't justify that.
That guy isn't squatting 600. One look at him, he's not. Yes, you can look at him and go, that guy's not squatting 600. And he does not have the.
Well, he's in the off season.
Jalen Hurts is a beast.
Right, but it's hard for people to rationalize that face-to-face compared to TV.
Especially it's
right.
dark at Xfinity Live at night, right? It was darker in there. They're all hammered.
Right.
All the guys were drunk in those videos, and some of them were from afar thinking it was Jalen Hurts.
But it was incredible.
Could you trust yourself with that type of power? If you resembled the Philadelphia star athlete, would you use it for good?
Well, I am a Philadelphia star athlete. I play in a Sunday league baseball.
Is that what it sounds like when I say it? Jesus, I
say it tongue in cheek. You say it seriously. I don't know. Like, I would imagine I would welcome the free drink if I looked like a specific player.
I would too.
It's not cheap in there.
You know, we have somebody in our building, in Josie, who looks just like Dave Dombrowski.
Just like him.
And when we have been at events, I have joked with people and gone, hey, Phillies general manager Dave Dombrowski. And people have gone, thank you for the signing.
At FanFest last year, a couple of my buddies were there, and I got them up to the VIP area. I was like, by the way, look, Dave, like, this is a pretty big event. Like, Dave Dombrowski's here. They bought it.
Right, they did.
My friends who are big sports fans bought it. They thought he was Dave Dombrowski. If I'm Joe Z, I would use that. I would walk around and, yeah, sure, you can buy me a drink.
It's probably not the best thing karmically, but I would do it too. I can't fault anyone for doing it. So more power to that guy. He hit the genetic lottery and he doesn't have to get hit by defensive ends to do it. All right, we'll wrap up with this because we got Jeff McClain coming up. But something you guys talked about earlier and we've been talking about all show, the Rhys Hoskins thing. Here's a kind of commentary from you guys.
Okay. This game means something in the long run. You're going to be fighting for that one seed with this team potentially.
Yeah, you do not want this team keeping you from having a bye.
Right, exactly.
Like if you have the bye or home field advantage. You want to go out there and you want to make sure this is one of those teams that you put down.
Now, two things. First off, this is a deeper conversation. I don't think the Brewers are that good. Like, their record is very good right now. I don't think they're remotely in the Phillies, league.
They shouldn't be.
So that's one way to look at it. But the other thing, how did you guys feel? I want you to keep the same Bryce Harper energy and all of this with JT Realmuto smiling and laughing after Rhys Hoskins stole a bag on him in a 3-0 ball game or whatever it was at that time, 2-0.
Different bond.
different bond.
Yeah, like they
the fans should care more about winning the game than the players.
Yes.
No, it's not about winning the game. It's a personal reaction.
I'm sure
I have seen many athletes when they battle, like when I've seen guys who know each other, battle each other. You struck me out.
Do you think Zach Wheeler wanted to give him a pat on the ass for the home run? Sure, he didn't.
I don't think so.
Nope.
Yeah.
But I mean, JT's about as serious as they come, and he's smiling and laughing with the guy that.
Yeah, he was also smiling
cheering.
smiling at him when he took him out at home plate.
And
exactly.
Both of them tapping each other on the backside.
Right, that's the perfect example. You can
hilarious.
do both.
No,
you can enjoy the moment.
You aren't
and still
them.
try and win.
You aren't them. They have a personal relationship. Stop trying to be one of the bros.
So none of them
for the fans. You are not them.
No one's ever met Rhys. His wife didn't buy beers for a whole section.
They have a personal relationship. Somebody who bought a beer by Rhys doesn't know them. They don't.
For some people, buying a beer is all you need to know someone.
JT Real Muto and Rhys Hoskins know each other. They are like brothers. They're like friends. They have phone numbers of each other. They understand each other. Completely different than a fan relationship that you don't know these people.
By the way, speaking of JT, another thing that gets lost because of the moment yesterday with the ovation, the home run, and the talking point of the home run.
Okay.
That 1-2-3 double play where Wheeler throws it, he has to pick it, makes the play at home, which is not easy because it's not like JT Realmuto's used to being in the fielding position and making a play like that at the plate. And then to also still throw from his knee and get the runner out at first base to get 2 outs.
It was like Chooch saving the no-hitter.
Brandon Phillips chopper.
The no-hitter.
Yeah.
I mean, that play was so beautiful. And my wife, the newly engraved Phillies fan.
Yes.
What's wrong with Wheeler? Bases loaded, nobody out. They're going to have a big inning here.
Got out of it.
And it was unreal.
He's the ace. That was
awesome.
an incredible play by JT Realmuto. That's why, look, he's still thought of very highly.
That was spectacular.
Across Major League Baseball. All right, we'll be joined momentarily by Jeff McLean from the Philadelphia Inquirer, Inquirer.com, as mandatory minicamp begins this week for the Eagles. I'll give him a text, Connor, to make sure that he's good to go. Let's see.
I mean, seriously, there is it's that play last night though was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, and we should cheer that play and not the home run hit by Rhys Hoskins. Yeah, and we should only cheer that play. We should not cheer for when an opposing player hits a home run.
This isn't hard. And it's not hard to.
Is it exhausting for enjoying things to have this many rules?
It isn't. It's not
what do you mean
rule.
that
it's
many
just basic
rules?
fandom.
If a player hits a home run against your team,
that you don't root for the other team.
Period.
No,
there's no other
root.
What do you mean list of rules? It's one rule.
You don't root against your team. Period. You do not root for opposing players in your stadium. Cheer against your home team. Period.
Rarely in life do absolutes put you in a spot where you have room to adjust to situations.
This guy, look at it. All of a sudden he's Mr. Deep.
It's very deep.
Method man.
I'm just saying, there's a lot of absolutes coming out of that room, and that makes it difficult to adjust to situations you don't anticipate.
By the way, we had a professor check in, Connor, on you, and he says holding the door at the Wawa for someone, he said, would be more of a being polite.
Okay, so we're splitting hairs between politeness and kindness.
He says those that absolutely, if you judge something as if you do it, you are kind, then you are absolutely saying if you don't do it, you are not kind. If you say someone doing something, the reason they're doing it is they're being kind.
If you donate when you go to check out, and it's like, donate $1 to help this.
You notate the person who does that is being kind.
Yes.
Then you are saying the person who doesn't do it is being unkind.
Dude, you got to have nuance. Nobody would say bypassing that is somebody not being kind. But everybody would say somebody doing that is kind.
An actual English professor.
Congrats on being an English professor. He's wrong.
No, he's not wrong. He's not wrong because if you attribute that to
he's not a philosophy professor.
If you attribute
we want to talk
that
nouns
to
and participles and all of that, we can do that. But that's a pretty stark example that I think would work for everybody. Apparently not John Kincade.
If you attribute kindness as someone giving that, and you say someone who is kind does this action, then someone who is unkind does the counteraction.
Way too black and white.
All right, let's go back to the text line. We're working to see what the deal is with Jeff McLean.
Right.
Maybe he's working on a story. Maybe something popped up. Maybe Jeff will be joining us I'll try to find out if he can join us at 8:30. because I would love to talk to Jeff as mandatory minicamp begins this week for the Eagles and what the vibe could be for the Eagles players. We talked about this yesterday, how we love that today is day one of mandatory minicamp, the first time in Nick Sirianni's tenure, because I think that's a good culture setter.
Yes.
It's not just putting in offensive game, the game book and same with the defense. No, it's more so bonding, culture setting, and I think that's an important thing considering what happened last year. So we'll speak to Jeff McClain at some point this show. But what do we have on the text line, Connor? Because I know the Rhys Hoskins thing, me and John and our one caller, Joe, we're on an island right now with not being fans of celebrating for Rhys Hoskins hitting a home run against the Phillies that made it a 3-1 tight ball game.
Rob from Lambertville checks in and says it's completely ridiculous to cheer for opponents once the game starts. I played sports through college and had many friends I met along through the years. I always carried what my parents taught me, which was when I was playing, you could be friends before and after the game, but once the whistle blows, you're enemies. Connor, you're soft.
That's good.
I don't think you're soft.
No, he's soft.
No, I don't think he's soft.
I don't
think he's soft.
Ever since this new morning show thing started,
I've been this guy the whole time.
I don't think I was just going to say that. I think Connor is who Connor is. He's the Connor that the first day I met him. And I think that in this case, I find it confounding, but Connor has not become soft or changed or anything.
No.
He's the same person.
He's the same person.
That's who he is.
And I credit that.
He is. And he's consistent.
But it's a different approach. And it's interesting because you and I are the same age, and there are things that we don't agree with. There are some things that we completely agree with and we're against John, and I do sometimes think that is a generational thing.
Correct.
But I don't see eye to eye with you on this one. And I
don't understand old people like you.
Right. Right.
I really
30-year-old
don't.
going on 60.
It's like it is funny.
I understand. So, Connor, you are, I think it's getting lost. You are against the cheering of Rhys. Like, you wouldn't have done it.
I would not have done it. No, I would not have
Did
stood
you just
and cheered.
see why people would do it?
Did we hear the home run cheer? The home run booing?
We played.
We
played. But let's play it again. Here's how it sounded when
Milwaukee
Rhys
radio,
Hoskins,
when he hit the home
Milwaukee broadcast when he hit the home run yesterday.
Hoskins deep left, and a homecoming for the ages for Rhys Hoskins. It's 3-1. They were cheering him earlier, and now some boos, but mostly standing and clapping for Hoskins.
Some boos, but mostly standing and
He's
clapping.
out of his mind with the some boos. You can play NBC Sports Philadelphia. You can hear that. There was not mostly cheering.
But
it was
he
booing.
didn't say cheering. Booing is louder than this.
Yeah, but it was booing.
It was booing.
It was booing.
Yeah, but he saw people from his vantage
he did.
point.
No, I saw people on TV.
I saw it too, yeah.
I saw people in Phillies jerseys over the outfield wall standing there cheering it.
Yes, when the ball
it's in the
was
stand.
near them, yeah.
I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Like, the only home run I cheered for yesterday was from Dahl. That's the only home run I was happy about yesterday.
Yeah, I agree.
I was not happy about the Rhys Hoskins home run.
What I did was when Rhys Hoskins hit the home run, I was like, wow, that's a cool moment. That was my reaction to it.
And Andrew and I are right with you.
Right.
That was a cool moment.
But I've pointed
it pissed me off.
After the fact. It's a cool moment knowing that the Phillies won. I was not saying in that time when he hit the home run, oh, wow, this is really cool. At the time when he hit the home run, I said, oh, damn, it is a 3-1 ball game, and the Phillies bullpen is taxed. Zach Wheeler looks like he's probably done for the day. That was my immediate reaction. This game is not in hand, even though we've had multiple texters and callers and tweeters saying the game was in hand. Since when was a 3-1 ball game been in hand with 3 innings left to play?
And then 11 innings on your bullpen the last 2 nights beforehand.
You guys are absolutely right about the game situation, but I think your scope of the moment is too small.
I don't, and Rob Thompson would not agree because Rob Thompson warned you before the game. Yeah, we're hoping he can go. We're hoping he can give us some serious innings tonight because our bullpen has been really taxed.
No. Your scope of the Rhys Hoskins situation. You're absolutely right on the bullpen thing.
No, but that's part of the whole thing of that. That's why I'm worried about a tight game because the bullpen's been overtaxed.
You had already got 6 2/3 out of Wheeler, so it wasn't like it was the 4th inning and Rhys Hoskins delivered a blow to knock him out.
I get that, but still, Connor, you know the deal. I mean,
yeah,
and it's also another inning under their belts.
Right, I got you. But I think the specialness of the moment heavily outweighs to most people the game going on in June and the situation in which the Phillies were still leading. And I'm not debating that the game wasn't close. It was very close. But I think even with it being close, seeing Rhys Hoskins homer in his return after not being able to play his final year in Philadelphia was the reason, an opportunity some people believed they could have when they bought that ticket.
Okay.
And seeing that is something that it's special.
I like the you want a proud dad moment?
Yes.
She was in the stands last night. She's texting me during it, and I said that was quite the ovation. And what does she say to me as far as her response? She says, I was on pins and needles. He goes, as far as the whole thing is. Everyone is cheering for Rhys. One standing ovation from me, and then I'm booing him. We love him, but now it's time to strike him out.
I don't even think you have to.
It's like I'm so proud that my 20-year-old can grasp it. She can figure this out.
I didn't even think you had to boo him. Like his second at bat.
No, she wanted to boo him.
I know, and that's great.
She's a booer. And she's a stand-up every minute of every Eagles game. Never sit down.
Right.
So
that's good.
She will not sit during a game.
I don't even think I would have booed had I been there last night when the home run was hit. I just wouldn't have cheered.
Right.
That's my biggest thing. I wouldn't have cheered for the opposition. But apparently we're crazy. We'd love to hear from you. 610-632-0975. Yeah, or we're unkind. You can call in or text in. We'll try to get Jeff McClain coming up. He was supposed to join us at 8:10. Hopefully he can join us at 8:30. I'll shoot him a text on the break. It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Up.
9 on Kincade and Salciunas on this Tuesday morning, 97.5 The Fanatic. Jeff McClain is going to be joining us coming up at 9 o'clock. So Jeff had to move some things around. We appreciate that he'll still be taking his time coming on with us. So Jeff McClain from the Philadelphia Inquirer, Inquirer.com, will be joining us at 9 o'clock. We'll get to some texts and some calls in a second. And I want to talk about things that wouldn't have flied back in the day from a fan standpoint that seems to be okay now, like cheering for Rhys Hoskins when he hits a home run that negatively impacted the Phillies yesterday. So I want to get some of your answers on that coming up in a little bit. And, John, I think you're like the perfect guy to talk about it.
All right.
You've spanned over the generation.
Yes, I have.
I say that.
Absolutely.
I've
absolutely done that.
I'm saying it respectfully, damn it.
I have.
But speaking of a text, now this was not the text line of 610-632-0975. This was my personal text line, which I will not give out that.
Oh, say the number.
I will.
I'm not going to do that. There was a former host here at the station that used to tweet out his number all the time. Do you remember who?
I don't.
You remember who?
No. Used to tweet out his number?
Joe Stazak.
He used to tweet out his number?
He didn't mean it.
Oh, no.
He would put out
the tweet and just
like, here's what I'm
brain
talking
fart.
about today, and then instead of putting 610-632, he put his own personal.
Would people call
cell.
him? I wonder.
I don't know. But I got a text from our man Brendan Petrelli.
Okay.
Who works here at the station. He's an associate producer. He works street team, does a million things, and he's also a future professional beanbag tosser.
All right, good.
Cornhole player.
He's excellent. Very funny.
So he texted me something 11 minutes ago.
What?
That I'm not joking, hand to God, I saw it yesterday as well and noticed a situation that could have happened.
What's that?
And I'm very glad that it didn't happen because then I would have questioned a lot of people around here.
Whoa, what happened?
Rhys Hoskins was due 4th in the 9th inning.
Oh, yeah.
So if Alvarado gives up one base runner,
the tying run comes into play with Rhys Hoskins.
And it's Rhys Hoskins.
Good. Petrelli has got a good eye. Man.
So here's the text he says to me. Rhys was due up 4th in the 9th. If Hefty Lefty, that's his guy, Alvarado.
Love it, Alvarado.
Walks someone, and Rhys came up to tie for the tying home run, potential tying home run, would people still be cheering for him? And he has a bet on what you will respond with.
Yeah, I don't think they would have.
He says $100. Connor says, well, that's different.
Yeah, that's there. You just won the 100.
I mean,
you just won the 100. Absolutely. If you are somebody who cheers against your team, you're not going, well, now rationally my mind says I'm not going to cheer for it.
Why would people not be able to make that distinction?
But it's just a game in June, and it's a special
just a game.
moment.
It's a special
and
moment. It's a special person. I've heard every excuse.
Do you not think people have logical reasoning?
No, I've heard No, I do not think these reasons are logical.
Connor, I guarantee you somebody, if, let's say, played out the way that it did, he hits a tying home run, somebody would have said, at least it was just a tying home run. That's really cool. Now let's go win it in extras. And if they wanted it in extras, they'd say, wow, what a cool night. I saw Rhys Hoskins force the team to go to extras.
Yeah, that may be the case.
And that's horrible.
I think a large amount of the people who cheered for the home run in the 7th inning would not have been cheering for a game-tying home run in the 9th, and I don't think that's I don't think that's a crazy assumption.
I think it absolutely.
I think there would have been multiple people.
What happened when Chase Utley beat the Phillies?
Yeah,
pounded on the field, poured on the
literally hit a grand slam against the Phillies, and he got a standing ovation.
A standing ovation.
If Rhys Hoskins was up to bat in the 9th inning with the runner on, I bet you there would have been some people in that building going, man, it would be really cool if you had a home run.
What a cool moment this would be.
There may have been.
And that's horrible.
Significantly less than what cheered for the 7th inning home run.
I would just say dopey, dope.
But here's the deal. Let's say the home run, again, this situation plays out, and you're saying, oh, it would have been less than than the 7th inning home run. They were in the position to hit a tying home run because of the home run he hit earlier in the game in the 7th.
Yeah.
And you celebrated that.
Yes.
I got you. People are able to separate the celebration of Rhys Hoskins hitting a home run that helps the Brewers with Rhys Hoskins, the player who gave the city everything.
You just made a grand assumption. You cannot in any way state that factual.
Okay, then you can't state the opposite factually because we're inside people's
because
heads.
I've actually I actually have data on my side that says
what data do you have on people's thoughts on this?
I can prove. No, and I don't need thoughts. I got their actions. I don't need to think in their mind. I don't have to read minds. I can look at their actions and say there are people who came to the game last night and rooted against the Phillies. They cheered when an opposing player did something good against the Phillies. That is called I can go by action. I have actual facts to back up what I think.
You're Captain Myron with the analytics, but now you have data on people's thoughts.
No, it's not. I don't have to deal with thoughts. I'm using actions as an example.
Kincaid's calculator.
I'm using distinct actions that are provable.
Okay,
that I can prove that's how people act.
So scientifically, if you see one action, that's the action that will happen forever.
It wasn't one action. It was there were thousands of people.
There were many actions.
There were thousands of people in a
reaction to one thing, though. It's not.
Yes.
I'm just saying.
They cheer against. I know these people cheer against their team. I know these people are willing to cheer against their team for Rhys Hoskins. So it is absolutely logical for me to say that they would absolutely be willing to cheer for Rhys Hoskins again.
I don't think they would cheer Christian Yelich hitting the tying home run.
They wouldn't.
But if Rhys Hoskins stepped up to the plate with a runner on base, down 2 in the 9th inning, there would be people on the edge of their seat, and not because of the edge of the seat of the Phillies' victory, edge of the seat to see if Rhys Hoskins would do something magical.
Guess what Rhys might do
We are now we're on Neptune now.
No, we aren't. We're actually dealing in tangible facts. We can prove, we can point to, and say these are people willing to root against the Phillies because of their adoration of Rhys Hoskins.
One sample size. So if Jalen Hurts,
it's a large sample size.
One sample size.
All right,
one instance.
Hold on. Let's see how the rest of the series plays out.
Okay.
If Rhys Hoskins continues to go on a tear, let's say he does hit another home run today, and this time it's to put him up 3-1. It's a 1-1 ball game. It's a 2-run home run. Let's see how people react.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's hold all judgment until. Well, I mean, it could just happen this game. Like if today, if it gives the Brewers the lead, then we should point it out.
Yep.
All right. Fair is fair.
Fair is fair.
Okay. I want to ask you guys, what wouldn't have flied back in the day that is flying now?
Well,
when it comes to sports,
setting aside this discussion, because this would never have flown.
When it comes to fandom, we know for a fact the standing ovation would not have happened.
I can give you a perfect one.
Okay,
absolutely perfect.
All right,
and you talk about generationally. I did not have to go to school with rat weasels. I did not have to go to school with kids who were Laker fans. I'm a Warrior fan. I'm a Yankee fan. When I went to school, people were Phillies fans, Eagles fans.
Are you sure?
Yes.
There were no Cowboys fans in the local area?
No, what I'm telling you is that no one would have worn a Cowboys jacket to school. Nobody would have worn their Cowboys hat proudly. Or not even Cowboys. I don't want to make it that abrasive. Lakers. Nobody.
So there were no.
You knew people. You knew people who were fans. But if you knew somebody, if somebody wore Lakers stuff around, it was like they were such an oddity that it was actually a thing that you'd be like, wow.
Oh, so you're saying they're a Sixers fan, but they wear a Lakers thing because it's cool. Oh,
yes.
Okay.
Yes. You never saw them. You did not see them.
Got it. Because I have.
And maybe people will go.
Fashionable things. In the
but
past.
You're of a completely different generation.
I am.
And you're of a generation now where, too, is that parents are like, well, he's a Laker fan because he loves LeBron. He's a Heat fan because he loved Dwayne Wade.
Right.
That was such a rarity because also, too, the access to watching those teams was not good.
Right, of course.
Like you didn't have.
It's not like it is today.
Like today, for years, I've been able to watch any NBA game I want. I've been able to watch, when I was in Atlanta, I could watch every Phillies game. I could watch every Eagles game. I could watch whatever I needed. So it's a different generation, but that didn't exist. There was the odd kid. If you had odd allegiances, everybody knew you, that you were the one.
I have a Cavaliers jersey in my closet, a Miami Heat jersey, and a Raptors jersey.
Yeah.
Can you figure out who?
So LeBron James.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Somebody named
Zadrenas Ilgauskas.
That's what it is.
For the Cavs and the Heat, and then my Valanciunas jersey for the Raptors.
And why you do it doesn't offend me in the least. Doesn't offend me in the least.
I do.
If you had LeBron,
I do have a LeBron Cavs jersey. I was like 12.
Okay, but that's okay.
He's been in the league for 30 years.
You're 12.
Hang on. All the people in the stadium last night were Americans, so they should be able to cheer for Rhys Hoskins because of nationality.
I would suggest that Daddy Chunas should have had a better handle on that one, but that.
No, he made it clear that I could not be a fan of those teams.
Okay, good. If you wanted to eat.
I do have something that's pretty cool. I do have a Kevin Durant Sonics jersey.
That's pretty dope. That's a cool jersey. It's a bust out.
awesome. A Sonics Kevin Durant jersey, like that's kind of cool. And that's a fashion statement.
Why do you have a Kevin Durant jersey?
It's cool. Because the Sonics were awesome.
Okay.
The Sonics were one of the coolest logos, one of the coolest color schemes.
Okay.
Fashion statement's different. Like you said, generational.
I've got a Ricky Williams Dolphins jersey.
That's
the old,
awesome.
like,
When you
the
say your
old
fashion
color scheme.
statement, what is the fashion? Like what are you wearing it to?
Oh, dude, I've college parties.
Yeah.
Rocking the jersey to a college party. That was a big deal.
Tailgate.
Dude, you go to the basketball jersey sleeveless. That was
wear it to the beach.
Down the shore. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Dude, you're working with two former douchebags.
I'm telling you. No, I'm
that's
like,
right.
I'll tell you,
That's right. We
if
got
I
one
see if I see the basketball jersey on the beach, I'm like, seriously, dude. You're trying too hard.
You're working with a current and a former douche, man.
You were
You can pick which is which.
Yeah, exactly. I might still have douche tendencies. I'm just not 100% sure.
Tendencies, yes.
Sometimes the
DNA is strong.
It's still there, man. It sneaks out every once in a while. All right, so Jeff McClain from the Philadelphia Inquirer, Inquirer.com, is going to be joining us coming up at 9 o'clock. We'll talk to him about mandatory minicamp that begins today for the Philadelphia Eagles. And I wonder why mandatory minicamp. What is the reasoning for mandatory minicamp? That was our topic yesterday. Is this in response to what happened last year? We'll talk to Jeff McClain about that coming up at 9 o'clock. More of your reaction to what happened last night with Rhys Hoskins, the beautiful ovation that he got in the top of the second inning, and the disgusting ovation that he got from a lot of people in the top of the seventh inning when he hit a home run that negatively impacted the Phillies. Maybe people forgot that he was playing for the Brewers. Maybe they just saw the name. Maybe that's what it was, Johnny.
They might have.
Who knows? It's Kincade and Salciunas right here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Now, Around the Bases with Andrew Salciunas on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Well, I'm doing this. We still have a lot in store for you guys. Obviously the show has been taken over by this Hoskins discourse because apparently we're offending people. I got a tweet from.
There's a lot of support though.
Yeah, not as much. Not as much support. Escalt checks in. The Hoskins takes are making you unlistenable. Be better. It's like what? Because
you stop.
Is it unlistenable because we don't agree?
Yes.
Like, is that
it's because
all
you
that
don't
it is?
agree with him.
I'm sorry that I'm not going to placate to the people that celebrated a player who doesn't play on this team anymore hitting a home run against
By the way, he
Phillies.
says a nonsense take. What is a nonsense take about not rooting against the Phillies in their building? It is mind-bogglingly dumb. I would just say it's a nonsense take to say don't root against the Phillies during a game while they are playing in their building.
You can root for Rhys Hoskins to hit 50 home runs. Just don't do it. Just
You're
not
rooting
against the
against.
Phillies.
And no, we absolutely applaud the fact that everybody showed their love and respect for Rhys Hoskins before the game or when he got up to the plate to take his first ovation. It was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
But don't root against him when he does something well to try to beat the Phillies. It's just dumb.
Right. I think the base level of your guys' assertion is totally fine. Don't root for someone who's playing against your team. You should always root for the Phillies.
Yes.
I think that base level assertion is fine. But I think it's fair to give fans leeway to make decisions on when they can go outside the realm of that. And I don't
fans
think
can do whatever they want.
No, you get to do whatever you want,
Do
but you
whatever
can
you want.
also be just called, this is ridiculous.
I just don't agree with what the fans that did celebrate the Hoskins home run yesterday. You can do whatever you want. You could paint Rhys Hoskins all over your body if you wanted to. Go for it. Get the tattoo of the bat spike on your butt cheek. Whatever you want to do, you do you. It's your life. It's your fandom. You could do whatever you want. Doesn't mean I have to agree with what you do.
And I would absolutely call somebody out.
And because we are in an opinion-based field, I'm going to do it.
But
I'm going to point out that I disagree with it, and I will be vehement about it.
I think it's hilarious to somebody, a nonsense take like that. That's absolutely absurd. Rooting against your team in your building is not a nonsense take. Don't do it. Don't do it. If that's nonsense to you, I'm going to. I'll either question your fandom or I'll question your sanity. One of the two.
Look, I won't question the fandom. Like, oh, what are you really a Phillies
You're
fan?
not rooting
like, I'm not
you're
gonna
rooting.
do that.
You're cheering when someone. Your favorite player. Let's say you like LeBron. You were 12 years old.
Yes.
LeBron hits a shot to help is to close a game to 1.
I would be upset.
Against 6. Well, the thing is, though, that's the difference.
I would be upset.
That is the difference.
And the further difference is LeBron never freaking played here.
It doesn't matter. He's trying to beat you. You showed him your love. You showed him your kindness. You gave him the greatest ovation. It was awesome.
It absolutely
And then it
matters
ends.
whether or not they've played here.
You don't cheer against.
Yeah, but you
your
can have
team.
a favorite player who never played here. I love Dirk Nowitzki. I was at a Sixers game when Dirk hit a buzzer beater to beat the Sixers, and I was bummed out by it. I watched one of my favorite players hit a game-winning shot in front of me, and I was upset about it.
Right. Yes, that's totally fine.
Yeah, but there would probably be somebody that would say, wow, that was so cool that I got to watch one of my favorite players hit a game-winning shot in the building that I'm at.
Clearly, you remembered it, and it was something that left an impact on you. It doesn't mean you have to cheer about it, and some people value those moments more than others, and that's why they cheer, and a large group value those moments.
And I disagree with those who
I
cheer.
disagree with it, exactly.
And I think that's where we're at, and I don't think it's that crazy for...
It's not a nonsense take to say don't root against the Phillies if you're a Phillies fan during a game. It shouldn't need a disclaimer. It shouldn't need anything.
No,
that's not a nonsense take.
I don't think it's nonsense at all. I just also don't think it can be treated as rule of law, and that's kind of what you guys are bordering on.
One of the things I don't like about all this is you talked about how we have too many rules about this. No, it's just don't root against a guy
That's not a big rule.
The amount of, as you said, your terminology, false justifications that we have gotten today. Oh, it's just a game. What have we gotten? It's just a game in June. The game was in hand, which is...
The game was in hand is the dumbest of all.
Just the game in June thing is fair. The game was in hand is absolutely not fair.
The game in June is not a justification when you were talking about a team that is one of the best records in baseball that is competing for you for a top spot in the National League.
Right, but you have like 100 games left.
It doesn't matter. But you give up one. You could lose by one.
Yeah.
More importantly,
Connor,
to
I don't agree with it.
That's not hyperbole. Like 100 is not like an exaggeration. They have like 100.
There's 100 games left after tonight. But you only have 7 with the Milwaukee Brewers. And if you lose a season series with them, it can come up and it can take you away.
And this is why we talked the other day about watching the Dodgers as the top team in the National League or the Yankees as the top team in the American League, and World Series home field advantage is too early, and it's going to drive you insane.
And for you, it is too early. It's not, to me, I have the mind space to be able to handle it, to be able to look at it, not obsess on it, but concern myself with it and go, okay, you don't want to let this slip away.
By the way, Dan Baxter checks in.
What's up, Dan?
There are absolutely fans that would have cheered if Rhys hit the game winner against the Phillies.
And you know there would have.
And I think he's right. And we'll see. Look, we'll see how the rest of the series plays out. We'll see. If he continues to play well, let's say he has a great series, are people going to celebrate it? Or are people going to be like, damn, he hurt the Phillies.
Heard it. Yep.
All right, Jeff McClain joins us coming your way next. Mandatory minicamp begins today for the Eagles. Still a lot in store for you. There could be a potential lifetime ban in Major League Baseball.
On Connor for this take this morning?
And Keith Pompey talking about the Jimmy Butler trade that could happen for the Sixers. And he compared it to another one that made me sick. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 9 o'clock hour ahead right here, 97.5 The Fanatic. It is 9 o'clock on Kincade Salciunas on this Tuesday morning. Hope you got to work safely. See, 8 o'clock, I say, drive safely. 9 o'clock, I say, I hope you got to work safely. And if you're not at work yet, I'm sorry.
Bob got here.
You probably hit traffic. So did see Bob. Bob had a good time yesterday at the Brian Dawkins golf outing yesterday. So good to hear. Can't wait to hear him coming up at 10 o'clock. But joining us now on the Comcast Business Hotline, every day in business is a big day. Let Comcast Business help you move forward with what's next. From the Philadelphia Inquirer, Inquirer.com, the great Jeff McClain joins us. Jeff, good morning. How you doing today?
Good morning, guys. What's up?
It is day one of mandatory mini camp, Jeff, and one of our topics that we discussed yesterday is why all of a sudden this year is it mandatory mini camp? Have you heard anything from the Eagles, from Nick Sirianni, or from the new coaching staff as to why this year is mandatory, the first time in Nick Sirianni's tenure with the Eagles?
Yeah, well, all mini camps are mandatory, right, and around the NFL. So that's how they have it. They've always set up the mini camp thing. This is the first time he's having the mini camp. And, a lot of that stems back to his first year, 2021, was COVID. I don't think not all the teams had decided to have a mini camp. I think one of the reasons why the Eagles didn't was obviously because of COVID. And then the second year and third year of Nick's, it's the second and third off seasons was because they had kind of changed the way they approached practice schedules, kind of dialed back on the number of off-season workouts, and even obviously during training camp. I think this obviously has been a topic that we've talked about before. They felt that the soft tissue injuries were kind of a direct result of having too many practices, pushing guys too long, and we did as a result, or I think the Eagles did as a result, and thought they did because they cut back on those number of practices. They were healthier in 2022, and again last year in 2023, not as healthy, but a long way of getting to it. I mean, with two new coordinators, I think that's the primary reason why they decided to bring back the mini camp. There's a lot more that they have to learn this year versus the previous years. Maybe some of that is a little bit of looking at how they've taken their foot off the pedal in terms of how they practiced before, but I think primarily it's because of two new coordinators and the new schemes.
How much do you think that is the thought process of Nick Sirianni, or is it the thought process of the new coordinators?
Oh, I mean, it's Nick. I mean, Nick's the head coach, right? I mean,
I hear that.
I'm sure the coordinators want the time to work with the players. And when we spoke to Vic Fangio for the first and only time a couple weeks ago, I'd asked him a little bit about the practice schedule because he had said, look, I mean, he's an old schooler. I'm sure he'd like to have these guys in here every day working out on the field. And I asked him how much he planned to push back on that, and he said, as much as I possibly can. But I think that has more to do with just Vic individually and how he looks at practices. And you can say the same thing about Andy Reid or Bill Belichick. All those guys kind of old school guys want it a certain way, and that's just not the reality of the situation right now. The one thing that the players have bargained in the CBA is to get fewer off-season workouts. And as you guys are probably paying attention, they're trying to change the whole structure of of training camp and off-season workouts. But no, I mean that's Nick's choice.
So we've passed June 1st. We're now in the post-June 1st period. What's the latest you're hearing with James Bradberry?
Yeah, I understand a lot of people circle that date, but you can always cut a guy before that date and just post it or process the paperwork beyond June 1st, and that way it would allow you to spread the days out. I mean the money owed over the remaining years in the contract, and that's what we saw essentially with Jason Kelsey and Fletcher Cox and the retirement of those guys. The Eagles are still eating a significant amount in the cap against those guys. So they filed their paperwork post June 1st, which I guess went through yesterday. So I don't think I really didn't make much of that. If they wanted to get rid of James Bradberry, they would have got rid of him probably as soon as the New Year league year opened in March. Now, my guess is that they're trying to move him. If they could get anything in turn for him, I guess that's probably more likely than just a kind of flat-out release. At this point, the question is anyone going to take him with that contract? And that's kind of what the Eagles are stuck with here. They have a significant cap hit if they were to release him, and even if they were to trade him, although it'd probably be offset by what, with the team. They had some sort of deal in place with the team that they would eat some of the salary. But, I think they're planning to bring James back kind of, I don't know if he's going to be the guy starting there on Sundays. You have to see how, Quinyon Mitchell works out. Isaiah Rodgers seems to have, the two practices that I've watched, he's done a pretty good job. So he's certainly in the conversation. And I wouldn't be surprised, they don't have a set guy in the slot. Avonte Maddox is back, but he's playing a little more safety this year, at least right now. And you have Cooper DeJean, who's, again, a rookie. So I wouldn't rule out James Bradbury possibly moving into the slot. We saw a little bit of that last year. So they're keeping him around, and they think that maybe he can bounce back.
When you've seen other coordinators come in the past and they're implementing their new system and everything like that, what does that mean? I mean, we read it, we hear it, but do you actually see tangibly the real teachers out there, how they go about the instruction? Is most of that going on in the classroom?
I'd say right now most of it's probably going on in the classroom. And when we're out there, it's just like base plays, any plays that you see any team run. I think for the most part, they're doing things a little differently. And they have to go through the language, the change in the terminology. I think that's a big part of it. A lot of that happens again in the classroom, but you want to get out on the field and implement it there so they get used to understanding the calls and everybody being on the same page in terms of how that goes. But when we're out there, essentially the coordinators are just calling the plays. And I think when training camp starts, you'll see a little more added here and there, and then maybe a little bit more when they have the inter-squad practices and certainly in the preseason. And then when we go away, when we no longer can watch practices, right, that's when they really get down to work implementing it. But yeah, I mean, it's an ongoing process. Look, I mean, there's a bunch will change, but there's a lot that won't change. They're going to keep some of the stuff that Nick had done and been successful with just 2 years prior, and certainly in parts of last year. I think the biggest part is the terminology change. And just some of the little differences that they do, the pre-snap motions, you're going to see definitely more of that with Kellen Moore. And on the defensive side, while those two previous defensive coordinators ran essentially a version of the Vic Fangio scheme, Vic wants things a certain way as well. So that'll take a little bit of a process as well.
Speaking of Jeff McClain on the Comcast Business Hotline, I know you only got to see OTAs so far in your limited time at OTAs where the media was allowed and now minicamp starts today. Have you felt the absence of Jason Kelce and Fletcher Cox? I know Jeff Stoutland, it was a great clip of him talking about Kelce yesterday and how it's bittersweet that he's no longer with the Philadelphia Eagles. Have you felt their absence, and have you noticed anybody kind of take the lead on the field so far?
It's hard to say who's like taking the lead, quote unquote. I mean, you definitely feel the absence. You look out there and you don't see 62 and you don't see 91 and haven't been around the team a while now. You certainly, that happens. Maybe with me, it's more so those two guys because I covered their entire careers. There's, and obviously long careers. Jason here, 13 years. Fletch here for 12. But I judge it more by like what I hear from, the coaches and assistants and the players on the podium and what I hear, away from them, like which guys are going to be the ones who kind of step into that void. I think in the offensive line room, it's going to be a bunch of guys. It's going to be Lane. It's going to be Jordan. It's going to have to be Cam. He's the new center. I think Landon Dickerson's a guy that has a lot of leadership qualities, and you heard Jeff Stoutland speak to that yesterday. And in the D-line room, I mean, it's really young there. I mean, Milton Williams, who's only going into his fourth year, he's pretty much the senior guy there. So you go from Fletch, Eagles all-timer and one of the best players in the league for a long time, to Milton, who, may not even be here next year. So there's definitely a little bit of a void there, I think, in terms of the leadership. But, Clint Hurt, we spoke to him yesterday, the new defensive line coach. I mean, he's an authoritative guy. He's been around a long time, and he knows what he's doing. And there's other guys at other position groups that can kind of fill that void as well.
When you talk to your peers around the league, and I know you do, from the podcast is great, by the way. I love
I appreciate it.
I really do enjoy it a lot. The idea is that, do you believe the perception that we have of the Eagles as a fan base here reflects what the people around the league are saying about the Eagles?
So, what do we think? I mean, do we
as far as there's a lot of optimism. I think there's a lot of optimism here about this upcoming season.
Right. So I had this conversation with a couple of beat reporters. We were just sitting around there talking, like, okay, what is this team? how do you, are we being realistic in terms of like, everyone does like how you look at the schedule and when it comes out, what's the record, which is kind of fool's gold to do that so early, and even to do it before the season. We know there's a million things that can happen. And I think a lot of people are like, okay, 12 or 11 wins. I'm like, all right, that seems to be kind of the safe route. Maybe 10 you can get down to. What would qualify as a bad season. I think 8. I think even 9 wins based upon the roster. But I feel like the roster was stronger. I got to see these young guys in training camp. There's a lot that still has to be played out, but I feel like the roster was stronger going into last season, the way I felt about it. There's more question marks on the defensive side. Again, I mean, they lost basically their 2 best players, Fletcher Cox and Hassan Reddick. Right? I mean, if you're looking at it kind of objectively.
Yeah, that is objective.
And who did you replace those guys with? I think Bryce Huff certainly has the potential. You brought back Josh Sweat. But you're still kind of asking a lot of these young guys, Nolan Smith and Jordan Davis. Those guys, didn't really perform. I think Nolan didn't play a lot. Jordan kind of petered out down the stretch. I think the same could be said for John Carter, although I think the upside on him is greater than those other 2 guys. Then you got all the questions about what's going to happen in the secondary. So I feel like, talking around the league, I think people think the Eagles are good. When the draft happened, I know there's a lot of people that were praising it, saying, "Oh, Howie did it again," or this, that, and the other thing. And then I heard that a little bit. I also heard that, well, I didn't have Cooper DeJean until the 3rd round, or I didn't, not everybody was, the feedback on the Eagles draft, and I'm going to look at that in particular, wasn't as unanimous in terms of the praise. Now, those are guys from other teams, so maybe they, there are guys I trust, though, and I feel like I've talked to them long enough to know that they're just going to give me the straight truth about how they rank guys or how they rated guys. They've been wrong, too, as well. But I just don't think, we've been down this path before where it's like, oh, Howie won the offseason, and, then all of a sudden the games start being played. We're like, oh, well, he didn't do this or he didn't do that. And I think it's my job to point out, well, okay, they didn't do this or they didn't do that, or, why did you do this versus that? And long way about answering your question is that I think there's still a lot of unanswered questions about this team. You're getting 2 new coordinators. We all know how badly it looked at the end of the year. And then I think at the defensive side of the ball, I just keep looking there, and I'm like, there's still a lot of question marks.
Last thing before we let you go, you mentioned Hassan Reddick. We obviously keep tabs on a lot of former players around the league. And Hassan Reddick, by all reports, did not show up to OTAs for the New York Jets. Obviously, it's not mandatory, so he has every right to not go to OTAs. I'd be lying to you if I said I remember the history of Hassan Reddick at OTAs in Philadelphia. Like, I don't know if he appeared to OTAs the last couple of years. Are you surprised when you see that he did not show up to the Jets when he said in his press conference, no matter what happens with the contract, he's happy to be in New York?
I think, like, here in Philadelphia, like, Hassan showed up for some and versus others. And again, last year, I knew that he was not happy, but I was on an impression.
Sure.
What I'd heard was that he wasn't happy. So, like, but there were only 6 OTAs last year, so really, and guys, a lot of times the veterans don't really need to show up. They're doing the work. They're getting it done. Lane Johnson, for instance, in Philadelphia, to name just one. But Hassan doesn't have the contract that he's wanted, right? So my guess is that we'll see. I guess they have their mini camp coming up.
I think there's the 12th. I think it starts next Wednesday.
That'll be the question. But he'll get fined for that. In most cases, a lot of times when the deal gets done, then they'll give him back that money. But it'll be interesting to see what he does there. I don't imagine he'll skip it. But he wanted to be traded because he wanted to get a new deal.
Right. And
he doesn't have one yet. I wouldn't worry about Hassan doing his work. He's a pro. He's been doing this a long time. Or the Jets. And it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But I honestly, with the Jets, I've been keeping maybe less than one eye on what's happening.
Yeah, I got you. Jeff, listen, man, we appreciate it. Enjoy mandatory minicamp. Another big day for you in the 2024 calendar of Jeff McClain, man.
And thanks for not live tweeting play-by-play of minicamps.
Hey, man. If he wants to do it, he's got it.
Well, we cover it.
You cover it, but
it's an Inquirer.com. It's an Inquirer.com, and like I want to think about it a little bit because there's so much going on in a matter of like one play. There's 22 moving pieces. I can't see it all. And Of course, even when I go back and think about it, I can't see it all because there's no replay.
Sure.
But to yeah.
Thank you, Jeff.
You're the man.
All right,
we'll
guys.
talk to you next
See you,
week.
buddy. Bye-bye.
There is Jeff McClain on the Comcast Business Hotline from the Inquirer, inquirer.com.
Now, I didn't just, I'm not just kissing his backside when he's on. I think the best, I'll put it this way. Jeff McClain has the best writer podcast in sports.
That's great. No, it's
like a guy who writes for a living that does a podcast because his podcast tells a story.
Yes.
And I think it's the best of that genre.
Oh, you're getting choked up about it. Wow.
I think it's the best of that genre in pro sports.
This is emotional.
I really do. I think he does.
He gets
does
more
a great
emotional
job.
about Jeff McClain's podcast than Rhys Hoskins hitting a home run against the Phillies.
I was just going to say, if a new episode dropped while that home run was being
then
hit,
it would be crazy.
Might have been curtains.
Unbelievable.
Then it would be crazy. I just think there's an art to it. And it's weird because when I first heard that Jeff was going to do a podcast, I'm going, I've heard a lot of writers do podcasts, and I haven't found many that are that good.
No, this is tremendous.
This is excellent. It's excellent.
By the
Love
way,
it.
we got to take note. The objective answer.
The objective answer?
More talent last year.
I thought that was a really eye-opening. I usually will write stuff down during it.
The scary thing is when he says there's more question marks with the defense this year than last year. And we had questions about last year's defense.
We did.
So,
no, there's more.
Something that we'll save. Good thing we have 3 more days. Today's only Tuesday.
Yeah. Well,
3 more.
And plus we
I
get
told you guys were on
3
Neptune.
more days of content, man.
Plus we get to hear Nick Sirianni today.
Yes, we do. We'll play
which
that
to
tomorrow.
me is I think it's going to be fascinating to hear, is it word salad or is it something that we can really work with?
And we'll see how people react if Rhys Hoskins hits another home run tonight. Let's go to Mark on the cell. What's up, Mark?
Hey, gentlemen. Good morning.
Hey, Mark.
Great to hear from you, buddy. What's up?
Oh, man. I'm going to beat my head against the wall. I mean, let's think about this logically. Rhys Hoskins plays for what team?
The Milwaukee Brewers. Yes.
Okay. He got a standing ovation at the beginning of the game. He hit a home run late in the game, a crucial point in the game for them. Gets them on the board. Anything could happen. Why would we cheer for anybody that's not wearing Phillies colors? I just don't understand it when the game is being on. Like, Chase Utley was my favorite player. Jimmy Rollins was my favorite players back in that time. They both moved on to other teams. I do not own those jerseys for those other teams they play on. When they came to Philly for the first time, give them their golf clap, whatever you want to give them. But once the game starts, that's it. If we know what Rhys Hoskins can do in big moments. We've experienced it 2 years ago. Why would we want to have him hit a home run and be excited about it, to tie the ball game, win a ball game for the other team?
I love Rick. Love you. I mean, I love Mark. I should say, I love you, Mark. Love it.
But you're on the island with us. We only have like 6 people.
I cannot believe that this is such a sort of, it's controversial or outlandish, or that people are debating this like that.
He was a great Philly. He was good for us for what he did in the community, on the team. He was one of the oldest players on the team. He's been with us.
Yeah, he was the longest tenured player during that World Series run.
Yes.
He went through the ups and downs of this team, and I get it. He earned that ovation in the beginning of the game.
Absolutely.
But blows my mind. It blows my mind.
He hit a home run to make it a 2-run game, and then our man Brendan Petrelli pointed it out. Thanks for the call, Mark. He was due up 4th in the 9th inning.
Yes.
What if he had a chance at a tying home run? How are people acting in that moment?
It's Rhys. We love you, Rhys.
You guys, seriously, I need.
I'm just asking a question.
No, I know, and I'm going to ask you 100% seriously. You think that the people who cheered for the home run in the 7th inning, that made it a 3-1 ball game, their first run of the game, would have cheered the same way if he had hit a home run to tie the ball game in the 9th inning?
I will not say that 100% of the people would, but I guarantee you that there would be people that would have celebrated because, as you have heard from multiple people say now today, it's just a game in June.
It's just a game in June.
And I'm not going to debate that. But do you think it would be like a large amount of people?
I think
like
it would be
a noticeable amount of people?
I think it would be a large percentage of the people who cheered for him earlier. The same people who cheered for the home run in the 7th inning would be the same people that a large majority of them would have absolutely cheered him again.
Okay. I have more
because they showed me their behavior. They showed me their lack of awareness. They showed me absolutely that they would do that.
They won't say lack of awareness because they will say that they were aware that it was just a game.
Oh no,
in June
that's what they're. And that's so they will absolutely. That makes it more likely that they would cheer for him.
So they reacted to one thing, and now they're those fans forever.
They were there. Yeah. On that note, you asked me about that night. Do I believe that would have happened that night? Absolutely.
And we'll see how this
Not
series.
even a
Look,
question.
we'll see how the series plays out. There's still 2 more games. You're shaking your head in there. We'll see how the series plays out. Dude, if he hits a home run tonight, we'll see how people react. Because it's one thing for people to say, oh, well, it was the first home run. What if he's a 40 home run hitter? He could very well hit a home run again in this series. We'll see how people continue to react. And I think it's fair to say, let's wait and see before you start calling us crazy, Connor. Right? Let's see how it plays out.
And look, and the facts are on our side.
There are
as far as how people act.
Facts.
Yeah,
Yes,
we factually know that people react.
Kincade Salciunas, more to come. There could be a lifetime ban in baseball. It also leads to another big question. We'll talk about it next. 97.5, The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The return of Rhys Hoskins. I'm Connor Thomas. This update is brought to you by visitannapolis.org. Summer adventure begins in Annapolis, Maryland, exploring historic streets and making unforgettable memories. Plan your getaway today at visitannapolis.org. Last night.
97.5 The Fanatic. Been a lot of fun, I guess fun, talking about Rhys Hoskins today.
It has been.
The beautiful ovation and then the questionable ovation after the home run that made it a 3-1 ball game. We'll see how the rest of the series plays out. So we'll leave it at that. All right, I know Connor was shaking his head. We're going to leave it at that. The rest of this series we'll see, because here's the deal. There's probably somebody that would make the case, hey, it was his first home run back. Enough is enough. But I wonder if somebody who goes today that wasn't there yesterday, if he hits a home run, do they have a similar reaction to yesterday?
Right, and my argument would be that they wouldn't, and I guess your guys' argument would be that they would.
I would believe that the same type, yes, the same.
I believe
people
that there will be people that will cheer.
Do that.
If they're there today,
because
and
their justification will be, well, I wasn't there to cheer Rhys hitting a home run to help beat the Philadelphia Phillies. I wasn't there. So I get my moment to cheer for him.
Now, are you?
I do it in that voice too, Connor.
I know. I know we talked about this a little bit yesterday.
Yes.
Are you in favor of him getting another ovation his first at bat today?
I would have zero issue.
Me too.
If before his first at bat he got another ovation that he was.
It wouldn't be as
that wouldn't bother
long
me.
And dramatic.
It wouldn't be as long. It wouldn't be as dramatic. But I would have no problem if he had to step out
and do another tip of the cap.
And if I was there,
I would do it.
I would participate in it.
Yeah, because I wasn't there last night.
I would absolutely participate in it.
All right, it's a beautiful thing. So we'll be paying attention.
There is some. We do have. The weird thing is that you and Connor and I, you and I are more aligned in this, but we do have some common ground on this. It's not like we are completely diametrically opposed on this.
Absolutely. That's beautiful. All right, so we've been very focused on Hoskins. We've talked a lot of Eagles today as well, per usual. But there are some other things that I want to get to this segment as we are getting closer to our Key 3 and the Cooney crossover. There could be a potential lifetime ban in baseball.
Okay, this is wild to me.
So the Padres outfielder, Tucupita Marcano.
Watch your language.
Thank you.
It's a family show.
Was injured last year with the Pirates and was betting on Pirates games.
Man, how dumb are you?
Well, my guess is because Tucupita Marcano is not a very well-known name, I'm going to guess that his salary is not that high.
Yeah, but how dumb are you?
I mean, $746,000 is still more than a lot of people making.
Yes. Yes, I'm not feeling sorry for
That's
him.
the Connor Thomas salary, right?
Yeah,
that's right.
A couple more zeros on the end.
Right around what you
Deal
get
with you jokers.
Producing this beautiful show. But I don't think it's been put down yet. He's facing a lifetime ban. He's going to get it. Like if
No, I would advocate for him getting it.
Well, yes. Like
he deserves to get it.
The rules are rules. Like
You're a dope. No, he's a dope.
Rules are rules, man.
He's a dope.
That's all there is to it. And apparently other players could be mentioned as well. Now, the funny thing is Shohei Ohtani still got by scot-free. And the wild thing is, what's the guy's name who's pitched the knuckleballer with the Braves now, who used to play for the Angels? Have you not followed this story?
Nah, not really.
So there was a middle infielder that played for the Angels with Ohtani. He is now transforming himself into a knuckleball pitcher. You've not?
Oh no! I've seen this story.
A little bit about
he made a start with the AAA Braves the other day, and he's actually doing an okay. He struck out.
He hasn't thrown in the majors
Who's
yet, right?
the 17-year-old that's married already? The
Jackson Holiday.
Yes, Jackson Holiday. Thank you. He struck him out to end the game the other day or something.
Okay.
He made bets through the same bookie that Ipe Missouri did. The same guy, the same interpreter. So, and apparently, I forget his name. This player was best friends with Ohtani. So shady stuff happened. Like the Ohtani walked away from this, and I'm telling you it's because who Shohei Ohtani is. Like Tucupita Marcano has no shot. He's gonna get banned because Major League Baseball is gonna say,
cover up
"Who's this guy?" Like this guy's out of here. Like I still believe there's gonna be a 30 for 30 50 years from now about Shohei Ohtani and the legal stuff that he was doing, but because he's the face of baseball, they let that one slide.
They are literally covering up that story.
Well, the question is, what happens? Because there's going to be more and more of this. Like, this isn't done. Like, Marcano's not the last player that's going to be caught. Now that it's so it's easy to gamble, right? Because everybody has on their phone.
No, it's easier than ever.
It's easier than ever. You don't have to find an illegal bookie. You can use an account. And your names are, you use your Social Security number to get onto these books.
It's so easy, and I know that in professional sports they're having a real problem with it with just employees that work
not
for
just
teams.
the players themselves. Yeah.
Yes, that they're having a problem with.
And I wonder, I don't even know what they can do. I really don't.
No, I don't know what you can do.
The sports books are giving a lot of money to be, advertised.
Yes.
You go to Citizens Bank Park. There's like 6.
But you cannot legislate common sense into people.
Correct.
You just have to say these are the rules, and if you are so dumb that you violate the rules, then you're going to get exactly what's coming to you. You are going to get exactly what's coming to you. And I feel no sorrow for them at all. Because there's
neither do I.
There's very few rules that they have to navigate.
No,
this isn't that hard.
You're absolutely right, and that's the perfect way to evaluate it. I think the question is, though, when does it get to a point where the leagues are looking at this we need to handle this different because we're tired of banning people?
Well, that's the thing. And, they can't all of a sudden allow gambling in the games that they play. They can't.
Right.
I wonder if it becomes a point where they allow it. All right, you play for the Eagles. You can't bet on the Eagles-Cowboys, but you can bet on Saints-Chiefs, even though you may have connections because you know. I wonder if that ever changes.
Yeah, I think that's Pandora's box.
I don't think you can, right? It can't change because there's too much potential corruption. Because part of what you have is you have knowledge, and knowledge is so dangerous.
Right, absolutely.
That you can offer. It can be, I'm not affecting the game, but I am absolutely being able to tell you that this guy has a hamstring that's a problem today.
Right.
And they're not, and he's gonna play through it. There's a lot of stuff. It can't.
Well, that's
happen.
what happened with the Jonte Porter thing.
It did.
Oh, I have an eye injury. I'm going to play.
I'm even talking about a player in the locker room
knowing another player.
This guy has some problems that you might not know about.
By the way, his name is David Fletcher, so he's pitching. He's a knuckleballer now in the Braves system, but he is currently under investigation by Major League Baseball over allegations that he placed bets with the illegal bookmaker, the same one linked to Ippei Misora, and apparently Fletcher and Ohtani were tight. They were really good friends. And apparently Ippei was really good friends with Shohei Ohtani. So maybe Ohtani just has a bad judge of character.
Or he's
a part of all of this.
Or maybe he is the bad character. What's funny is people want to give it. I've heard it with that is that Ohtani's been. I've heard this one over and over again. Ohtani it seems like he was taken advantage of by an unscrupulous person.
Yeah, I don't buy it.
I don't buy it absolutely at all when you're talking about millions and millions of dollars.
Right.
BS.
I absolutely
BS.com. That is absolutely a joke.
So that's a story that we'll be paying attention to. The other thing, have the Keith Pompey clip here ready, Connor. We haven't talked Sixers at all today. It's been a big story for Rhys Hoskins and obviously the Eagles angles that we've had today. But Keith Pompey yesterday joined the best show ever and brought up the potential trade for Jimmy Butler. And take a listen to what he said it could cost.
Sixers have a lot of cap space where they can take in the salary, and they'll have around 5 first-round picks the night of the draft that they can be able to trade, right? But I also think that if you're Miami and you're giving away a guy like Jimmy Butler, you're going to want a whole lot more from the 76ers. So that's where you have to get the 3 teams involved, the whole 9. Rudy Gobert, Utah Jazz got multiple picks for Rudy Gobert. Jimmy Butler is more, he's more of the guy who scores the points, more impactful than Rudy Gobert. Now, I know Rudy Gobert is a defensive player of the year, but I guess the asking price is going to be a whole lot higher.
See, that makes me sick. Now, I thought the Rudy Gobert trade was horrible. And look, it ultimately it worked out for Minnesota. They get to their conference finals, right, which is farther than the Sixers have gotten in 23 years. But here's what Minnesota gave to Utah. For Rudy Gobert, who was, yes, the defensive player of the year, but nobody's comparing him to Jimmy Butler. Malik Beasley, Patrick Beverly, Leandro Balmaro, Walker Kessler, who was the number 22 pick in the 2022 draft, Jared Vanderbilt, and by the way, still to come, 2025 first-round pick, 2026 pick swap, 2027 first-round pick, 2029 first-round pick.
Wow.
So 1, 2, 3. Oh, and I missed the 2023 first-round pick. 4 first-round picks and players for Rudy Gobert. But here's the deal. He was 29 at the time.
Yes.
Even though I still disagree with the trade, he was 29. Jimmy Butler's 34.
There's no way I'm doing this for Jimmy Butler.
He's basically saying he's saying it could be more than what they gave up for Gobert.
It would be that you can't do it. You can't do it. Now, I suspect that the Jimmy Butler stuff is more us talking about it than reality. Is that fair? Is that or how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't want it from the beginning.
Right. But do you suspect it's more of us chattering about it,
Probably.
or do you think it has legs?
Probably because of, everybody's pointing out to the Pat Riley thing and what he had to say, and Jimmy Butler's angry and he wants out, but Jimmy Butler ultimately wants a contract extension.
Yeah.
Right? That's been talked about from the beginning. He wants an extension.
Yeah, I'm not sensing this thing has a lot of real legs.
And I hope not. John,
no, I'm joining you.
I really hope not.
What's funny is we're starting to agree way too much.
I know. I'm spending too much time with you.
They said we got to do something.
I need this vacation. I need to go to Lithuania, get away with you.
Go to Lithuania and we can start disagreeing again.
Absolutely. Let's go to Rick in Easton. Rick, you're on the Fanatic.
Gentlemen, very interesting topic with Rhys. And and by the way, you're nailing it. And the people that criticize sports talk shows are people that are jealous they don't have the forum to voice their opinions. But it's still good.
Some of us are dopes from time to time, too.
Right,
and I raise my hand. Yes.
But real quick, before I get to Hoskins, when I used to see the Phillies play in 76, 77, 78, they won 75 to 80% of the home games in the net. When the Eagles had T.O., I felt they could win every single game. Those are the only kind of time of the year. And the 74, 75 Flyers. I felt they would win every game they stepped on the ice or got on the field. This Phillies team gives you that type of feeling. And I want to share this with you, gentlemen. I do a lot of business. I officiate nationally. And the stigma of the Philadelphia bad, terrible, whatever they think of us, that's really not the way it is anymore. The Vet was like hell.
It was.
The link is like a church compared. I've been in both places as season ticket holders all these years. It's just a different attitude. The rest of the country does not look at Philadelphia the way they used to. So where am I going with this? I wonder what would happen if this is October and Rhys Hoskins was hurt for this series, and this was the first time he steps into Citizens Bank Park.
Ooh.
When Milwaukee is up 2-0, and now Rhys Hoskins comes to the plate. I'm curious what the reaction.
I would like to think
interesting.
He would not get that ovation. Thanks for the call, Rick. I would like to think he would not get that ovation.
I would like to think it.
Down 2-0 in a series?
I would like to think it.
I don't think it would.
I'm going to tell you that.
John, I don't think it would.
No, I think it would be far. How about this? I think it would be far different, but I wouldn't bet anything that it wouldn't happen.
All right, we got the Key 3 coming your way next. Also, our crossover with Bob Cooney, all right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Summer is approaching, and the sports calendar's heating up. Then they hit.
This is interesting.
I'll bring Bob in a few minutes for the crossover.
That's exactly what I said.
But it's time now for the key three.
Now, the Kincade Salciunas Key 3. Today's best.
And Rhys Hoskins, from his work on the field, off the field,
absolutely off
and
the
how
field,
much
too.
he loved this city. And I think still loves this city. He deserved every bit of that.
He did. That moment was absolutely
awesome.
beautiful. And you got to think about everything that surrounds Rhys Hoskins. I mean, he was the one bright spot during a horrible time in Philadelphia sports before they signed Bryce Harper, right? During the 10-year playoff drought, Rhys Lightning, what he did when he first came up in the big leagues, hitting all those home runs in very limited games. And I know he was a very streaky hitter, hot sometimes, extremely cold at others. I'm somebody that tried trading him 3 different times for guys that would be at the front end of the rotation. Not because I thought Rhys Hoskins stunk. It's because
he was an asset.
He was an asset, and they needed pitchers. And I remember, would you trade Rhys Hoskins, or who would you rather have? It was like Hoskins, Trout, and Mike Stanton, now Giancarlo Stanton. And the majority of people still voted for Rhys Hoskins. Ultimately, Connor,
you're cheering against
Connor,
your
I
team.
know you're pro applauding Hoskins for the home run.
I mean, no, I didn't do either. I'm rather neutral on the
Okay, you're
topic.
neutral.
If you were in the stands, be honest with us.
No.
Be honest with us. Would you have cheered that home run?
No.
Okay. Can you agree, even though you're Mr. Neutral, that in the moment, cheering for the Hoskins home run was cheering against the Phillies?
Yeah.
There's nothing to agree, but there's nothing to agree on there. It is.
Technically,
It's fat. No, it's not technically.
Well-
It's you're rooting against the Phillies.
Hang on now. What was the crowd reaction when Rhys Hoskins got thrown out at home? Was it, poor Rhys, or was it loud?
No, it was
It was
unbelievable.
great play by Rojas, and I think people loved the interaction.
The double butt
Which
tap
was great. It
will
was a
go down,
great.
yeah.
It was a great
So
interaction.
they cheered loudly against him not scoring a run that could have hurt you earlier in the game because they still want the Phillies to win. But when Rhys Hoskins has an individual moment, they recognize it.
I'm sure the coordinators want the time to work with the players, and when we spoke to Vic Fangio for the first and only time a couple weeks ago, I'd asked him a little bit about the practice schedule because he said, look, I mean, he's an old schooler. I'm sure he'd like to have these guys in here every day working out on the field. And he, I asked him how much he planned to push back on that, and he said, as much as I possibly can. But I think that has more to do with just Vic individually and how he looks at practices. And you could say the same thing about Andy Reid or Bill Belichick. All those guys kind of old school guys want it a certain way, and that's just not the reality of the situation right now. The one thing that the players have bargained in the CBA is to get fewer off-season workouts, and as you guys are paying attention, they're trying to change the whole structure of training camp and off-season workouts. But no, I mean that's Nick's choice.
All right, that was the Key 3, Kincade Salciunas Key 3. Now it's time for our crossover with Bob Cooney. Bob, as my witness, did Connor Thomas say that if he worked for a year, he could become I don't want to say major league, but in a farm system as a knuckleballer?
He said he could get people out.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a direct.
So wait a minute, though. He could maybe get A-ball people out.
No,
he couldn't?
Dude, I'm telling you, nobody cares about my Sunday league. There was a guy that was on the A ball for the Cubs, and the other team needed a fill-in player, and somebody knew him. He hit 3 home runs.
Okay. So maybe I'm wrong on that. I'm
like,
just saying I have more faith in Connor
are
than
so much better than us.
Okay.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
He's no chance. You two are what's wrong with Philadelphia. Sports
Really?
them
Why?
today.
Why?
So the national media will say, wow, look at the Phillies fans. They were really good last night. Look at what they did.
Yeah.
And listen to how Sports Talk Radio in Philadelphia accepts it. And it's you guys going, no, you can't root for the home run. Oh, no.
You could cheer the
It was
opposing
fine.
player.
They were perfect last night. Everything was perfect.
I thought the ovation was beautiful.
We
The
did.
ovation
We
was beautiful.
loved it.
I think the reaction to the home run was like, wow, look at that. He hit a home run.
Oh.
They
But
felt like,
let's pose the question.
see, and you guys, this subject I'm going to have there. Why do you guys have to go with rules for fandom? Stop. It's fandom.
No.
Wait a minute, it's a strange- it's a strange rule
I said
to
fans can do whatever they want. It's
root
just
for home
I would
teams?
never do that.
It's
I
a
would never
strange.
do that.
Okay.
It's a strange rule.
Why do you care if somebody else does it? Like,
Because
what
I-
do you care
because I
if
think it's
Susie, is sitting there at the game and she goes to 40 games a year and she loves Rhys Hoskins and he hits a home run. She goes, oh, man, that's cool. He hit a home run. 3-1.
Is
3-1.
Is it a strange? Is it a rule?
Oh,
that
you
they have
put
to
more
put it
rules
to
out
not
for
root
fandom
to,
than anyone I've ever met.
to not root against your
They're
team.
not rooting against.
Yes, they
It's
are.
an individual that was on your team.
made
It's
it
a
a 3-1
circle
that just did something to hurt your team.
They didn't stand up and cheer like, way
Yes,
to
they
go,
did.
Rhys. It was kind of
Yes,
like
they did. Watch the home
John,
run.
It was like, okay. Yeah, the guy that we used to love hit a home run.
Let
Okay,
me pose
cool.
the question quickly.
All right.
Because I don't want your show starting late.
It's all right. We don't care.
If he came up to bat in the ninth, so he was due up 4.
No, you don't root for him to hit a home run to lose the game.
Well, no,
It was a moment. You guys are losing out on
Yeah,
this.
but everyone keeps on telling me it's
moment.
just June. It's just June.
And by the way,
it was just a moment.
Rarely do you see fans jumping and cheering and clapping. All you need to do is watch the replay. Phillies fans clearing and clapping and standing on their feet.
All right, what do you
Way to
got?
hit it.
What do you got today? Amy Fadul.
Amy Fadul
Well, that's
with
awesome.
us for all 4 hours today. Yeah, we'll take a bigger look at. We had a lot of people on yesterday. Dive in a little bit deeper in what they had to say about the Eagles and Larry Bowe on the Phillies, and some fun stuff. There's some fun questions I always like to put out on the show, so we'll do that today.
I love your
too.
fun questions.
Always fun, Bob.
Enjoy it.
All right, boys.
All right, have fun interviewing a certain celebrity.
Hey, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Don't make eye contact on the way out of the building. Support life-saving cancer research. Join us and our friends at Pump Man Philly and donate to the AACR because I know firsthand 3 times over, cancer research saves lives.
All right, back at it tomorrow on a Wednesday, which means it's a Shefty day. But for now, Bob Cooney, Amy Fadul, Ray Dunn coming your way next. Midday Show.